My boss literally mocks me and my coworkers because he says we're so easy to fire as we only work as contractors. So my coworker decided to get some revenge by literally quitting on the spot one day, putting our entire project on hold as this guy was like the most important person in the room, showing to my boss once and for all that he shouldn't take us for granted and he really shouldn't be so happy to fire us whenever he wants. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk and hit the bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started. Okay, for a bit of context about me, I worked an engineering contract for a while. They were pretty open-ended, like a lot were, with a vague but not really binding length of time that you would be specified to work for them. It's kind of like, oh, this contract is expected to be for 12 months, but it's also at the will of the employer, and it could end earlier or be extended further, who knows? But for those that do that kind of work, usually they stick to the vague timelines, and a lot of well-performing contractors get extended. Anyways, one day our team of 10 people, who are all contractors managed by one full-time employee, suddenly just let 3 contractors go, which by the way, it had to go through me. I mean, technically I was running that team, but I was a contractor too. Like, I'm not in charge of firing anybody. So they basically told us to say, hey, this is your last day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Me and another contractor asked our sponsor, hey, how come we didn't give those guys any notice? And it's here that this guy brightly said, well, that's why we hired contractors. That way we can cut them loose at a moment's notice whenever we want to. And as you can probably guess, we didn't love that answer at all. Also, it was a weird thing to say to 2 other contractors. He basically just told us that we would get no notice and we would just get let go instantly someday. And that's not a good look. Anyways, long story short, that other contractor was a very sharp guy. He started interviewing and got another job and actually told me all about it, with me keeping it a secret until this fateful day. Now, this job started in a few weeks, but this guy just kept right on working the contract job and was literally in the middle of a bunch of work that only he understood. Then at 5 o'clock p.m. on his last day, he just stood up, grabbed his laptop and pretty much all of his computer equipment and his docking station, walked right over to our sponsor's desk and set them down. He then just said brightly, hey, thanks for everything, this is my last day. The guy then looked up and said, wait, you're leaving? And this guy looked at him and said, yep, thanks, and then walked out, and that was it. Now, after the fact, I found out that he also hit send on a more official last day email at the same time. And let me tell you something, it was really funny. Like, his work was half done, he didn't answer any calls or questions about it, and it took us like well over a month just to get it all figured out and get that project back on track. But honestly, if the sponsor had not been so delighted about being able to fire contractors at any second, that guy would have definitely given like a nice 2-week notice and worked to have like a smooth handoff for his work. But the way he did it instead is really funny and something this guy absolutely deserved. Okay, maybe I've just had a lot of really bad bosses in the past, but dude, this is one of those things that I've always been like, man, I wish I had the guts to do that. I wish that I could have that moment where it's like, oh yeah, I work a crappy job, but I found a better job that pays more, and I'm gonna walk out of there and throw the keys at the door and be like, see you later. Like, dude, that's like straight out of a movie or something, bro. Like, I would love to do that one day. Has anyone in the comments section done that? Please tell me all about it. I want to hear your story, dude. I want to hear your victory lap of like getting back at that really crappy boss. Because the sponsor in this story is a nightmare, dude. This guy literally admitted to contractors that, oh yeah, we like to hire you guys because then we can fire you whenever we want. And it's like, why would you say that to us? That's not a good look, and that definitely doesn't make me have any confidence in you at all. In fact, it doesn't make me want to do my best work at all. It makes me want to find another job like this other guy did. And for me, in my opinion, when you live in a country or a state where it's like, oh yeah, you can get fired at any point, that kind of proves right then and there that giving a 2-week notice is stupid. Like, I don't know, if I really don't like the job I'm working at and I found something better, why should I have to give you notice when you're not going to ever give me notice? Like, screw the employer. Like, what about me, dude? I'm literally busting my butt making your business happen. You would be nothing without me. I could find a job anywhere. You desperately need good employees like myself in order to make this function. Otherwise, it's going to go down the tube and it's just going to fall apart, and it's going to be your fault for not doing better for your employers. And also, it kind of seems like when you do give out 2-week notices, like, people almost are incentivized to try and like let you go sooner, where they don't really give you those 2 weeks and they don't care that you're leaving. They almost like take it away from you to try and punish you. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen that plenty of times. It's a really disrespectful way of handling business when it's like, dude, I am literally extending an olive branch here. I'm giving you a chance to get your stuff together and find someone to replace me. This doesn't mean you should just tell me not to come back and that, oh, we won't be needing you for those 2 weeks. Like, if that was the case, I would have just left right away. I would have taken all my vacation days, all my PTO, and I would have been like, cool, I'll hang out in the back and you guys do whatever you want. So yeah, that's kind of my hot take, but leave a comment comment down below. Have you given a 2-week notice before? Have you had anything like this happen in your life where it's like, oh yeah, I quit right on the spot and you got the best kind of justice on planet Earth? So please leave a comment. I would love to hear exactly what that's like. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, but also be sure to check out Am I the Genius. I'm going to link them down below in the description. They're a fantastic channel. We love them over here at Am I the Jerk, and I think you should definitely check them out. Also, be sure to submit your stories at AmITheJerk.com/submit. It's the best place to share your experiences and get involved in the community. And honestly, I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. In fact, a member of the audience by the name of Emmett gave our recent video a 10 out of 10, which, my God, thank you so much, Emmett. That's so kind of you. I'm not sure what kind of grading scale we're working with, whether this is a Michelin star grading of oh man, they go to everybody's videos and rate them. But my God, I will take an Emmett 10 out of 10 any day of the week. And so let's get back to the video and get to the next story. Am I overreacting for turning down a guy on a first date, all because he was in a wheelchair? Because right now I'm feeling guilty and I just don't know what to do about this. Here's what's currently going on. I'm a 26-year-old female and recently I matched with a guy on a dating app. We talked for several weeks and we really hit it off. He was funny, he was kind, he was easy to talk to, and we texted every day and eventually we decided to meet in person. When I arrived for our date, I realized that he was in a wheelchair. His profile had several photos, but none of them showed that, and it never came up in conversation beforehand. I was surprised because I genuinely had no idea. Now, the date itself was nice. He was exactly the person I'd been talking to online, and we got along really well, but I couldn't stop thinking about whether I was prepared for a serious relationship with someone who has a physical disability. I know that might sound shallow, but I didn't want to ignore my feelings and end up leading him on. A few days later, he asked if I'd like to go out again, and I thanked him for the date, but I told him that I didn't really feel a romantic connection. He then pressed for an explanation, and I eventually admitted that the wheelchair played a role in my decision. He was really hurt by this and accused me of rejecting him because of his disability instead of judging him as a person. A couple of my friends think that I was unfair and that I should have given him more of a chance, but others are saying that everyone's entitled to their own dating preferences and that being honest was better than just stringing him along. But now I'm conflicted. I never meant to hurt him, but I also don't think it's right to date someone when I'm unsure I can fully commit to that kind of relationship. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because I don't know what to make of this. Okay, in my opinion, I don't think the original poster is a jerk, and before someone jumps down my throat, here's my reasoning. This guy was not being honest. He was leading this person on and not showing that, yeah, I've got a disability. Which, by the way, people are entitled to be attracted to whatever they want. And I'm not saying just because he's in a wheelchair, he's not gonna find a girlfriend or whatever. For me, the biggest hurdle here is the fact that he basically misled her the entire time and presented a version of himself that wasn't actually real. Because I don't know, in my opinion, if you want to be honest with someone you're gonna be dating, then yeah, that's probably something you want to bring up. In fact, that would probably be the first thing I bring up. The icing on the cake though for this is that he really tried to guilt trip her and be like, oh, you don't like me because of my disability. Did he expect her to suddenly be like, oh, you're right, you're the one, let's keep dating? No, that's like a nail in the coffin, bro. That's not gonna make her change her mind. Guilt tripping her like that is not the answer. That is really rude. So no, I don't think the original poster is the jerk. I think that this is one of those situations where the guy wasn't being completely honest, and that really puts the original poster in a bad spot that they did not deserve to deal with. Am I overreacting for being upset with my fiancé after he capped my wedding dress budget to just $1,000? Because once I found out he spent $7,000 on his gaming PC, I became incredibly upset because I feel like this is a massive double standard. And at this point, I'm just not sure what to make of this. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my fiancé and I are getting married next spring. I've been trying to keep wedding costs reasonable because we're paying for most of it ourselves. And we actually sat down a few months ago and agreed that we would be both mindful of spending while also saving for the wedding. When I started dress shopping, I found one I absolutely loved. It was around $1,800, and I know that's a lot of money, but it was within what I had personally saved, and I wasn't really asking him to pay for it himself. When I showed it to him though, he immediately said that spending that much on a dress that I'd wear once was irresponsible. He said that we needed to be practical and suggested I set a budget of around $1,000. We argued about it for a bit, but eventually I agreed because I just didn't want to start a fight over a dress. A few weeks later, he came home excited and showed me the new gaming setup that he had ordered. He got a new PC, a monitor, graphics card, desk upgrades, literally the whole thing. Well, I then asked him how much everything cost, and he initially avoided answering. But after some pushing, he finally admitted it was around $7,000 in total. And I was honestly shocked when I heard that. I pointed out that he had spent weeks telling me that spending $1,800 on my wedding dress was wasteful, but but apparently spending $7,000 on gaming equipment was perfectly reasonable. His argument is that the PC is something that he'll use every day for years, while a wedding dress is only worn once. I said that completely misses the point because the issue isn't whether a computer lasts longer than a dress. The issue is that he was comfortable policing my spending while making a purchase 7 times larger for himself. And now he's annoyed because he thinks I'm comparing two completely different things and says I'm overreacting because the gaming setup came out of his personal savings. And just to remind you, this dress would have come out of my personal savings too. So am I overreacting here? Because at this point I don't know what to do. Yeah, you're not overreacting. This is so weird because you're not asking for that much more than like the 1,000. You're only adding like $800 extra to the purchase. Like seriously, why not just get it? This guy really is trying to sit there and be like, let's keep it to 1,000. We don't want to overspend. Oh, and by the way, I need to spend $7,000 on gaming equipment for my PC. Are you kidding me? Either he got scammed or he got the most overpriced pieces of crap on planet Earth. Like there's no way he should have spent $7,000 on a new PC. And I get it, like things are expensive right now, but it doesn't cost that much. Like, my God, that's like, oh, I'm gonna put down a payment for a car kind of money. So yeah, this is completely a double standard that he's like, no, don't look at this. This is different. I'm gonna use this every day and I want it. Plus, I'm paying for it. And it's like, dude, you're paying for your dress. Like, why does he care? So yeah, this is completely stupid. I think he's being very selfish, and it's just super weird that he's trying to police this. So no, you're definitely not overreacting. My girlfriend's colleague is obsessed with getting her boyfriend a job at my company. And despite the fact that my girlfriend's colleague and her boyfriend are incredibly bad people, I've decided to put my foot down and say that no, I'm not helping these people at all because I find the situation sketchy and I seriously want no part of it. And because of this decision, it has caused a lot of conflict in my relationship. Here's what's currently going on. So I've known my girlfriend, who I will call Aubrey, for around 6 months now. And one point of what used to be minor conflict was her friendship with a colleague who I will call Paula. And just to be completely frank, I think Paula is a bad person based on the things that Aubrey tells me about her, which is a whole list of really crappy things. Paula has been dating on applications for as long as I've known Aubrey, and she would say that she's only on them because she wants to find a life partner so that her elderly parents could feel assured that she's not alone if something bad happens to them. But then she would specifically match with foreign rich men only, even when it's so clear that they're not looking for anything serious. She would sleep around if it meant getting monetary gifts like expensive handbags or getting to stay at like expensive hotels. And Paula indulged in these sorts of things no problem, even bragging about it to Aubrey consistently. Eventually, I started questioning Aubrey's friendship with Paula when she mentioned that although Paula matched with guys who were genuinely interested in like a serious relationship with her, she still had no interest in them because they weren't wealthy. There was a guy that she was leading on for a few months because she knew how much he liked her. So she just used him as company while also sleeping around without his knowledge. I already think that's pretty gross, but she even planned on trying to get some money out of him despite already knowing that, yeah, he isn't that wealthy. At the time, I talked to Aubrey about this, and I wondered why she was friends with someone like this, considering how different she is. And she said to me that she doesn't actually have that many friends and she is pretty lonely, so Paula is actually one of the few friends that she actually does have. Also adding that she does criticize Paula for her actions and actively discouraged her from trying to get money from the guy that she was using. She also added that this was Paula's own life, so it wasn't really anything to do with her anyways. And so in her mind, it's nothing I should lose sleep over. Now, I accepted it as some sort of like culture clash at the time. I mean, I work abroad, so who knows? And honestly, I didn't really say anything else. But recently though, Paula has a new serious boyfriend who I will call Jim that sounds really suspicious as a whole. Despite having never met in real life, they were already planning marriage and having children. He's from another country, so the most they've done is video chat, but Jim has booked tickets to fly here in a few days to meet Paula before his flight had even been arranged. They were also already talking about Jim moving here, despite Jim apparently studying really hard internationally to be living in the country that he is in now. They discussed him getting a job and a work visa here too, even going as far as finding an opening at the company I work at. And this really seemed fishy to me too, since he apparently has a well-paid marketing job, and yet he was willing to throw it all away for a pretty underpaid job with a lot of hours. This is a whole other situation situation to be honest, but the long story short is that I basically refused to help Jim at all with this, which was much to the disappointment of Aubrey. Aubrey feels that this is Paula's chance to finally be happy after meeting so many unserious guys, ignoring the fact that Paula was living it up at the time with the same unserious guys. When I brought up how quick their relationship was going, Aubrey responded that Paula has been waiting for a guy like this, and she would obviously jump at the opportunity. And then she also defended Jim, saying that he was a decent guy even though she's never even met him. She also mentioned again that it did not directly affect us and that I'm way too invested in this situation. But if Paula is really such a good friend, then surely you would say something to her about this. To not even have concern regarding how fast things are going, nor about the safety of her friends, seems so disconnected. In the grand scheme of things, I did see that perhaps this was getting to me way too much, so I just let it go, as Aubrey said herself. I mean, Paula was a grown adult who can make her own decisions. However, Aubrey is not letting it go after I refuse to even entertain the idea of helping Jim out with this job. In her perspective, I'm actively causing an issue and potentially damaging her friendship with Paula. It's all she talks about now, and I'm getting tired of it. Like, why should I have to help him get this job? We had no major issues in our relationship before all of this, and it just seems so bizarre since the point of conflict isn't even directly about us. So seriously, how can I communicate with her so that she will just let it all go? How can I get her to understand where my point of concern is coming from if she's just so focused on the happiness of her friend? Like, seriously, I'm at a loss and I really am not sure where to go from here. Oh my gosh, I would never help these people out in any way, shape, or form. Aubrey sounds like the kind of person who is way too nice for her own good, and because of that, she gets scooped up by narcissists like Paula. Paula's not a good person. She's a terrible human being. She sleeps around all the time. She's using men, and right now she is using Aubrey to get what she wants. And that's essentially to get Jim overseas to where she's at, and that's going to be at the expense of the original poster's career. Like, dude, I would never help these people for anything. The fact that Aubrey can't see what's going on and is just like, oh, well, it's not my problem. This doesn't directly affect me. Like, no, it actually does directly affect you. Aubrey has slowly become one of those like flying monkeys for like a narcissist, where a narcissist will latch onto someone and be like, go do my bidding. And they'll send people against you just to try and like create conflict. And Aubrey is a flying monkey in this situation. She is absolutely going to bat for Paula for some stupid reason. Like, yeah, you can take a back seat to someone's life falling apart and them making terrible decisions, but I would rather lose a friend by being honest with them instead of saying nothing and just letting it start to affect my life. Because guess what? Being a good friend means being honest with them. Saying, hey, you're going down a really weird path. This is not going to work out, and no, my boyfriend is not going to take care of this for you. Like, this really does seem incredibly sketchy, and if I was in the original poster shoes, I would stand on business, bro. I would say absolutely not. I'm not helping in any way, shape, or form. Because seriously, why should you? Just because Paula's pressuring Aubrey? If she's knee deep in this and she really can't understand what's actually going on here, then in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, and I can only speak for myself, I would probably think about dumping Aubrey. Like, that's insane in my opinion. That is not okay. The fact that she's so obsessed with Paula is also just so concerning because she's completely ignoring the facts right now. Paula is using her, she's using Jim, and she's trying to drag you into it and squeeze every ounce of resource out of you. Like, no thank you, dude. I'm not gonna risk my career for this idiot, and neither should you, dude. Like, absolutely not. Because if you give this Paula lady an inch, she will take a mile and then some, and I can absolutely see this directly affecting you in the way that Aubrey says it's not. Am I the jerk for not giving an expensive hoodie to a student's mom without any kind of proper proof? Because after the fact, she's pissed off at me. And despite the fact that the hoodie was not hers, like someone else already claimed it, she's still demanding an apology out of me for things that honestly seem really ridiculous. And at this point, I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I work as a teacher at a middle school, and it's currently the last week of the school year, and we had a field day after lunch on Wednesday. There were outdoor games, activity stations, and even indoor games in the gym. So until the end of the day, the entire space was cluttered with backpacks and hoodies that kids had left lying around pretty much everywhere. After the event, I helped out at the lost and found table. We have a simple rule that if an item isn't labeled with a name, then the person has to describe it clearly. We need a color, a brand, a size, what's in the pocket, literally any detail just to prove that it's yours. At the end of the day, someone brought a navy hoodie from an expensive brand over to the table. There was no name on the tag, but inside was like a folded schedule with initials and a small robotics club club sticker. About 10 minutes later, the student's mom came over and said it was her son's hoodie. But then, just trying to follow protocol, I asked her to describe it. She then said it was dark blue, an expensive brand, and it was in a medium size. But the problem is that this describes like half of all middle school boy hoodies. I then asked if there was anything in the pocket or if there was like a photo of her son wearing it. And she said irritably that she wasn't obliged to take a quiz. Now at this point I said, okay, I understand. But then I explained that I couldn't hand over an expensive item without definitive confirmation. Well, on Thursday morning, another student came in and immediately said that his robotic schedule with a sticker was in the pocket. He gave his initials and described a small stain on the sleeve, and that's when I absolutely knew that yeah, the hoodie was his. After that, the mom wrote to the assistant principal saying that I had apparently humiliated her in front of other parents and that I had treated her like a liar. She said that she could have returned the hoodie that morning if it hadn't turned out to be theirs. Now, the assistant principal said that I followed the rules, but the mom is demanding an apology. And just to be completely honest, I don't want to apologize. Lost and found doesn't work in a way where it's like, oh yeah, you give expensive items to the first person who says, oh, that's mine. So am I really the jerk? Like, would I be the jerk for refusing to apologize? Because right now I don't know what else to do. Okay, this is hilarious to me because, dude, the original poster is 100% right. If you can't seriously describe this thing you're missing perfectly, then you shouldn't get it back. Like, I'm sorry, but that's absolutely the way it needs to be, dude. Like, if I lost an expensive piece of clothing and someone was like, oh yeah, that's mine, that's my son's, and then they just took it, like, I'd be super pissed off. I'd be like, bro, what kind of verification process is this? Like, holy crap. You really just handed off my stuff to this random person? Like, what? So no, dude, the original poster shouldn't have to apologize. Screw that. This is just the parent being like really sour about the situation, all because they didn't get a free hoodie for their kid. Because chances are they're probably going to try and steal it regardless. And honestly, you stopping them is probably what really pissed them off more than anything else. And so they're taking their rage out on you as if it's your fault when in reality you were just doing your job. Today, I messed up by asking my friend's single mother out on a date because at the end of it all, I literally just got rejected and now I'm worried that I ruined my friendship because right now I seriously just don't know what to do. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, where yes, you can date someone's single mother. Never mind the fact that you're probably going to ruin your friendship in the process, like holy crap. This first story is a doozy, so strap in for this one. Subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell to turn on notifications, and with that, let's get started. Okay, so my friend's mom has been single for the last few years. She's currently in her mid-40s and I'm in my early 20s and I've always found her to be really attractive. She carries herself with confidence and has a pretty wicked sense of humor. For most people who don't know her, she can seem pretty cold, detached, and aloof, but once you get to know her, she is one of the nicest and most caring persons out there. Now, I've been strongly infatuated by her for like the last 2 years. Recently, I ran into her in a shopping mall and we had a great conversation. She got both of us coffee and we had a great time just yapping at the cafe. And ever since then, she appeared in my dreams twice. I've never felt like this towards any other woman before, not in the last 22 years of my life. Well, yesterday, I decided to make a move. I slid into her Instagram DM and I told her that her dinner outfit was amazing and looked really good on her. Then I asked her for dinner myself just to catch up further. She then replied initially saying sure and she would bring her son along too. And honestly, I didn't know how to reply to that. I wanted to make it clear that this was a date and that it would be just for the two of us. I gave it a few hours, then I got a bottle of red wine and I chugged 2 glasses down just to calm my nerves and boost my confidence. Then I texted her telling her that I would love to go on a date with just her. Well, right after I sent that, it was radio silence from her until like 1 hour ago. She then dropped me a text gently declining my offer and telling me that I'm a great kid and basically wishing me all the best with the girls my age. And my God, I'm absolutely crushed. I don't know how my friend will see me from now onwards, and I have no idea if she even told my friend in the first place. What should I do? Bro, that takes some serious guts. Like, let me tell you something. You really decided, hey, my friend's mom is hot. Let me ask her out. Like, what are you thinking, dude? That's crazy. First off, she's like 20 years older than you. And secondly, it's your friend's mom. Like, what in the world was going through your mind? It's totally fine to be like, oh yeah, she's really hot. But to take that a step further and be like, oh, I want to be with her. I want to take her on a date and date her. You know, my friend's mother. Like, what are we doing right now? Like, the odds of this working out were slim to none. And it really makes me question, like, did you really think this would work out? Plus, what do you think your friend would think if he found out, wow, you're dating my mom, are you kidding me? Like, that's an instant end to the friendship, and that relationship is never gonna work out, dude. And also, like, let's be honest here, her saying like, oh yeah, let's have dinner, I'll bring my son with me. That was the nice way of her saying, I'm not gonna go on a date with you. Like, that is really weird. So I think the fact that you got a gentle letdown is probably the best case scenario, and hopefully this stays like a private endeavor, because you don't want to be known as the guy trying to date other people's moms. Like, Like, that is not a good look, and I know for a fact I would not want to have that kind of reputation amongst my group of friends. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. An entitled customer demands a discount after serving me a terrible attitude, as this weird Karen demanded a discount that was no longer available for an item we were selling, putting me in a really weird situation because she was just so incredibly rude. Here's how it all started. To start things out, I work in retail and I had a woman come a number of weeks late for a sale item, which was obviously no longer on sale. She approached me, snapping her fingers and going, "Hey, what's the price?" So as I was explaining that the item was on sale but is no longer on sale, she cuts me off mid-sentence to stare me down and complain that she drove over an hour to get here. Which sure, it could be true, but many people use this as a tactic to try and get what they want. I explained that there was nothing I could do about the price, but I went ahead and I reached out to a manager to inquire about like a price honor, which is actively like me trying my best to help her out despite her rude behavior. While on the phone with the manager, I asked her how many of the items she wanted, to which she angrily replied, 4 or 5? I mean, what does it matter to you? Well, long story short, we honored the price for her, but she snatched the discount tag from my hand and left with a huff. And of course, she never even said thank you. And sure, I know this is like a mild interaction in comparison to what other people have dealt with in the service industry, but I seriously don't understand what goes through people's brains when they decide to act like this to service workers, especially workers who do their very best for the customers within company policy. As an empath, it sort of ruins my whole shift, as it leaves me feeling like a lesser than, as if I'm just a cog in the machine. I don't have feelings and therefore I'm not worthy of basic respect. Now, I don't plan on staying in my current job for longer than I need to, but props to those who stay in retail for many years because I simply could not do it. Okay, I hate customers like this, and I've dealt with people like this in the past, where it's like, okay, you missed the sale or you missed the deal or whatever's going on, so here I am going out of my way to try and get you your discount that you wanted. But it's like, dude, the second you try to like get details about it, about like, oh, how many of these items do you want? She immediately gets defensive and is like, well, why do you care? What does it matter to you? Maybe 4, maybe 5, like whatever. And it's like, dude, I'm not interrogating you and I'm not challenging you. I'm literally trying to help you out. Like, what is the deal here? And this for me is like a giant red flag in the retail industry, or even in any customer service capacity. The second someone gets angry or like super defensive almost out of nowhere, even just from simple inquiries or like questions about what they want, that is a giant red flag that something else is going on here and they're trying to manipulate the situation. They're trying to pull this card of like, oh my God, I'm a victim here and you're harassing me. When it's like, dude, I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just trying to get your stuff right. Like, chill out. So please, if you're one of these people listening and you're like, man, I'm prone to be really rude to customer service workers, please change your ways, be a better person. These people are just trying to make rent just like you are. They're not your personal slaves, and there's never really a good reason to act like that. My girlfriend hates the fact that I can't help her around the house because I work from home, and it's honestly becoming a point of contention between the two of us because I just don't know how to handle this. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so I'm working from home for the past couple of years now, and I moved in with my girlfriend close to 6 months ago, and basically she gets very upset with me that I don't do much in terms of like doing chores around the house, all while I'm working from home. Bear in mind, I'm not always 100% focused on my work. It is overall a pretty chill workplace, and it does not have a strict schedule. The most recent debate that we had over this was to clean our apartment, and she started cleaning in the middle of the day. Now, she didn't bother me, and as I said, it's a pretty laid-back workplace, but even still, she demanded that I should help her, to which I told her that I can't because I'm literally working. After a work session, I decided to take a break, get some air, doom scroll, and then just got back to it after like 20 minutes. And this is basically what really triggered her, because she said that in between these breaks of mine, I could contribute, but I told her that I will help after I finish my workday, to which she got mad at me. The issue now is basically I'm staying at home and she sees me at home not helping out, and apparently this makes me lazy. But if I were to go to like an office or a library or somewhere that she can't see me and do the exact same thing as I do at home, then suddenly she would agree with it. When I'm working from home, I'm usually on the bed or on the couch and sometimes on my desk, but I'm rarely moving. So I would kind of get it from her point of view that I'm doing nothing. Now, some important remarks. I mean, for starters, she is unemployed, but I believe that doesn't mean that she needs to do do all the chores. It should be split between us. The thing that bothers me is that I would have gladly done all the chores once I finished my work, or maybe in the weekend. But with that in mind, I will admit that I am a little bit lazy and I have to do these chores on my own timeline. But I wanted to explain to her that even though it does not look like I'm working, my brain still gets drained and I need to take a break and not instead start doing chores around the house. This is a pretty common issue for us, and I'm not sure how to handle it if a next time does happen. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Like, do I really need to stop what I'm doing and start helping around the house while I'm working? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, I can definitely see where you're both coming from, but as someone who also works from home, you absolutely have time during a break to be like, oh sure, let me just sweep real quick, or let me load these dishes into the dishwasher. Like, you definitely could do some work to try and get some stuff done. But I also completely understand where you're coming from, where it's like, dude, I've been working for 4 hours straight. I just need a quick break and then I can get back to it. So I guess it all kind of depends on like how bad the house is. Like, if it's really dirty, then yeah, you got to start like pitching in. But if it is just like general like tidying things up where it's like, okay, this doesn't really need to be done right now, then I think you're completely justified in being like, dude, I'm working. I can't do that right now. So I don't necessarily think you're the jerk, but I think you would be the jerk if you don't set up some kind of game plan with your girlfriend. Because obviously there's like different expectations from the both of you, and I think you might want to get that in sync before you move any further. Did I overreact by quitting my babysitting job right there on the spot after the mom of this family insulted me for not taking a much lower payment for my services? Because things got really weird really fast, and honestly, I didn't want anything to do with it. And at this point, I just don't know if I made a mistake or not. Here's basically what happened. I'm a 22-year-old female, and I've been babysitting for a family every weekday morning for an hour. I take care of 2 kids, I get them ready, and I drop them off at school using Uber. I charge about $16 an hour, and I've often stayed a bit longer without charging extra. Well, recently the mom asked if I could babysit from 7:30 in the morning all the way until 3:30 in the afternoon during the kids' break. I said that I'd be more than happy to, and she asked about the rate, and I said that my rate would stay the same, $16 an hour. She then said that we should talk a flat rate for the entire day instead, and I suggested that since it's about 8 hours, I could do the whole day for maybe about $115. Well, she immediately said that I was taking advantage of the situation and said that she would only pay me $50 for the entire day. When I said that doesn't work for me, she started yelling and said that I was greedy, along with some really harsh personal comments about my appearance that felt completely unnecessary. I then told her that I wouldn't be continuing at all, and I quit right there on the spot, and then I left. But ever since then, she has been constantly texting me saying that I'm unprofessional and that I didn't give them any notice to find someone else, amongst other things. But I told her that I won't be returning ever. So with that in mind, did I overreact by refusing to come back and for quitting right there on the spot over this? Because I seriously just don't know what to do. Okay, the second that lady started like making personal attacks against you and making comments about your appearance and all this other crap, like that would have been my moment to be like, see ya, I'm not coming back. First off, it is insulting that she's like, wow, you're taking advantage of us, so in return, I'm gonna take advantage of you. $50 or nothing. Like, dude, no one's gonna work for that. You're literally there for 8 hours. She's literally trying to short you for your time, and that is so inappropriate. Not to mention the personal attacks against you, which came out of left field, because I can imagine you trying to negotiate this and being like, sorry, that just really doesn't work for me. And then suddenly she just jumps on you and says, oh, well, you're ugly and I hate your clothing. You're unprofessional. And it's like, what are we talking about? I'm not greedy. I'm literally trying to do my job. Like, I hate people who act like this, where they jump to some weird conclusion when they don't get what they want, and they decide, yeah, let me burn down any interactions I have with you, all because you said no. Like, what kind of fragile life does this lady have? Good Lord. So no, you're not the jerk and you didn't overreact, because they're literally trying to cut your pay in half instead of paying your full rate. That is unacceptable behavior, and if anyone's being unprofessional, it's this lady for the way she talked to you. My delivery driver literally stole the food that I ordered and drove off. So I decided to get some petty revenge that they literally could not ignore. Here's what I did. Okay, so my partner and I had ordered food one time from DoorDash, and the delivery driver got close enough to where we were, marked the food as delivered, and then drove away. We literally watched it all happen on the delivery map. We waited over half an hour for the food in the first place, so I was already unbelievably hungry. I tried calling the driver, but she kept declining my calls, which made me even more mad. Now, unfortunately for her, I had time that day. So after I contacted support and they confirmed that they would have it reordered and delivered, I decided to get some petty revenge by nonstop calling this girl for an hour straight. I'm talking I called exactly 87 times in a row, back to back. She tried putting her phone on Do Not Disturb, but because I had called twice in a row, it would go through the second time. She tried answering the phone and immediately hanging up, or just let it ring, assuming that she could wait it out. In the end though, she had to turn her phone off, meaning that at least for a little bit, she's not going to be accepting any new orders that she could do through DoorDash. Okay, this is a quick one, but I love this because holy crap, this is my nightmare. I use similar delivery service applications like this, so if someone really did that to me and I'd been waiting for 30 minutes for my food, I probably would want to do the exact same thing. I would call them nonstop. I would make their life a nightmare and let them know that yeah, this was not okay. And yes, I'm going to make you miserable because of what you did. So good for you. I'm totally in favor of this kind of revenge, and I think you did the right thing here. Am I the jerk for emailing my professor to give my group partners a 0 on our midterm after they literally did nothing for our group project at all, waiting until the last minute to essentially put themselves on my hard work? Because right now I feel kinda bad and I just don't know what to do. Here's how it all went down. To start things off, I'm currently in my first year of college and I'm in my midterm season. And for the past 4 weeks, my professor has assigned and reminded us about our midterm project that will be a majority of our grade. When he assigned this 20-minute presentation and project, he gave us the option to create groups or randomly have them created. Now, it's important to note that I'm more introverted than most people, so I didn't really have anybody to group with, so I just let him assign me with whoever was available. Now, when he did, I was thankfully assigned with a guy I've been pretty talkative with and 4 other people in class, and I gotta be honest, I thought it was gonna be a pretty smooth process in figuring out who was gonna do what part of the project, and that we were all going to do the required reading. Also, since he told us 4 weeks before the due date, I assumed that we would all be in the clear. Well, fast forward a week and a half from then, and I start sending a group text message to all of them, basically saying I had no problem with taking the majority, plus I had created a link and I needed their emails, while also adding that I found out when we need to present, while also trying to tackle basically who's gonna handle what. And I also put in there, hey, there's no rush in deadlines, but if we could all circle back at the end of the week, that would be great. But guess what? I ended up hearing nothing from these people, and on top of that, none of them showed up to class. Fast forward to now on the 3rd week, and I texted the guy privately, who I have been acquainted with, and I guess just overall asking, hey, did you see the text message I sent out? Essentially saying, I hope we can finish it by Friday, but he still didn't respond. Now, I was really upset by this, so I just decided to do the project on my own. I spent approximately 7 hours creating the entire presentation, and researching and reading the required readings, and then an additional 2 hours writing the separate handouts that our professor had asked for. I was so upset that I emailed my professor letting him know that no one was contributing, so I was just gonna do it solo. When I told him this, he said, oh, that's totally fine with him, and that he would send an email to each of them before I went through with going solo. Now, fast forward, and it's the day of the presentation and basically the due date. I then texted the guy I'm acquainted with saying I'm doing this solo, and he starts to spam my phone with apologies, saying that he didn't have access to his email and that he felt bad. And then another guy in my group was rushing me after class, asking for the link and what he could do. And even after I told him I already did everything, he acted surprised that I did, and that I even completed it in the first place. Now, stupidly, I gave them link access, but only to view it, where they couldn't edit it or add anything to it themselves. Also, the guy who rushed me even added his friend to a second group thread, who was apparently in our group so they could just go through it and be able to present it tomorrow morning. I'm so annoyed with myself and them, and my professor already knows that I was struggling with this, so seriously, am I the jerk for emailing my professor again, letting him know that despite me putting their names and being cooperative with them, even though they ghosted me and our assignment for 4 weeks, because I don't want them to have a failing grade, that I don't think it's fair that they are credited for all the work I did. Because right now I feel like I'm going through a moral dilemma and I just don't know what to do. Okay, no, you are not the jerk, bro. This is absolutely unacceptable. These people are trying to poach off of your hard work. They don't deserve to have their name written on that project. They straight up didn't do any of the work. Why would they get credit for anything? It doesn't make sense to me. It's honestly really stupid, and if you ask me, it's completely inappropriate. I've done college group projects before, and let me tell you something. I would immediately squeal like a piggy to my professor and be like, oh yeah, they didn't do any work, and now they're trying to put their name on my project. Screw that. You can fail as far as I'm concerned. Because think think about it for a second. The only reason they're rushing you and trying to be like, hey, can I get the link? What's going on? Can I see it? Sorry about that. I didn't have my email. My bad. First off, those are all excuses, but also they are literally grasping at straws. They realize that they're about to fail if they don't get this assignment done because they thought they could ride on your coattails. Like, that's unacceptable. So no, you're not the jerk. This is their problem, dude. They're the ones that did not do the work, and that's absolutely on them. So in my opinion, I think you should say screw it and move forward without them, because you do not need to feel bad about them not doing the job, and you definitely don't need them taking your work and passing it off as their own. My boyfriend is making me homeless after he got an apartment behind my back despite us literally looking together for a while now. And now I'm in a situation where I feel completely betrayed and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's exactly what he did to me. Okay, so my boyfriend and I have been looking for a place to live together for about 3 months because my lease is about to end at the end of the month. We've been looking nonstop and I've been footing all the application costs because he just didn't have a job until the end of last month. So I knew that I was going to have to pay most of the bills, but I was okay with that. I just wanted to support him while he was struggling. Anyways, he gets this job and suddenly he starts acting cold and distant towards me and not really acting like himself, like he's more irritable, and he is not as talkative. On Wednesday, I get a text from him saying a private landlord reached out to him and that we needed to talk. Mind you, I'm in the middle of a 14-hour long shift, so I didn't see this message until like 1 in the morning. Well, when I get home, he breaks the news to me that he went ahead and signed the lease and that I could stay with him, but I'd still have to look for my own place. And honestly, I felt completely blindsided. He then tells me, oh, it's not a breakup, but we need our own space and that it'll be healthy because we become codependent. Well, naturally, I start freaking out and crying nonstop, saying that I feel abandoned, but he keeps saying, well, if I were abandoning you, then I wouldn't let you crash here while you look for your own place. While also saying, see, this is why we gotta separate, because I can't deal with your emotional outbursts. And honestly, right now, I feel used and discarded, and that I'm basically wrong for feeling this way. I feel like we should have talked about this first. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm about to be out of a place and be completely screwed over. And before you ask, the only reason I'm still looking this late in the game is because he kept dragging his feet on applications. So we would end up keep getting denied, which would mean another $50 right down the drain. So seriously, how do I handle this situation? Is this really the beginning of the end? Do I suck it up and stay with him in this new apartment while I continue to look for a permanent place to live? I feel so lost right now that I really just don't know what to do because this really has caught me off guard. Okay, I just want to say that you're telling us that, yeah, my boyfriend didn't break up with me, but in my opinion, this is breakup behavior. This is like the coward's way of saying, I don't want to be with you anymore and I want to go in a different direction because holy crap, this guy's leaving you high and dry for his own apartment. He's literally trying to act like, wow, you're so upset about being homeless. This is why we need to separate. I can't handle you being emotional. But I guarantee you, if the shoe was on the other foot, this guy would be freaking out. He'd be losing his mind that you literally left him in the dust. Like, what is going on right now? This guy sucks. And I get it. You like him, you've been together for a while, and you're trying to like figure this out in some way, shape, and form. But it really seems like he's moved on and he's going in a much different direction. And remember, this is after you foot the bill for it, dude. This is unbelievably toxic. And it's just so upsetting that he's trying to turn this against you and be like, yeah, we really need some space, and almost blame you for this happening when like you're doing everything. This guy's without a job. Meanwhile, you're working 14-hour shifts, dude. That's exhausting and unacceptable. So yeah, those feelings of being used and discarded, like that would be more than enough for me to dump this guy and not look back. So hopefully you make the right decision. Like hopefully you could see reason and be like, oh, this guy sucks. I don't need him, because he's clearly already made his mind up about you, and that is so unfair. An entitled Karen gets dragged out of the park I worked at after she attacked me when I told her to wear a life vest if she's going out on the water, resulting in one of the funniest public freakouts I've ever seen in my life because this lady absolutely deserved it. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, where the secondhand cringe is potent and very available for everybody to watch, because the Karen in this first story has got guts that I truly will never understand. So get ready for this first one. It is something else. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started. Okay, so I work as a medical responder at a park, and aside from responding to an injured or missing person, we typically tell people the rules if they are breaking it. For example, no charcoal fires during fire season and stuff like that. And by the way, we do this as a courtesy before the rangers come and find them and pour water on their fire. Now, one shift, I was at the beach and I saw 3 people on a subboard without a life jacket. So I waved them over and I said the following: hey guys, just wanted to let you know that you will need to either wear a life jacket or have it strapped to to the board itself to be out here. I just don't want you guys to get fined by our rangers. Now, most people are very considerate and are like, oh, okay, that makes sense, which is what I expected from these people. Well, two of her friends were like, oh, thanks for letting us know, and pulled the board out of the water. But the third one must have had something personal against me because she started screaming with her entire lung capacity. She yelled at me to see the exact law that required them to wear a jacket, which I showed her on my phone on the government website, but even that wasn't enough. She then said it must be racially or orientation motivated, that I specifically targeted her group instead of the other boat in the water who were also not wearing a life vest. Now, all the ones along the beach had either a life vest or had one strapped on their boat, which I also explained, and that every 2 hours our search and rescue boat goes out to see if anyone's drowning and if the boats have life vests on them. Well, at this point, she then grabbed her phone and started recording me, demanding my name and saying that she will report me to my supervisor. Now, at this point, I have not raised my voice once, and honestly, I've been really calm, but it's right here that things get really weird, because it's here where this lady grabbed my arm and tried to direct me to where there was allegedly a person not wearing a life vest while also still screaming at me. Now, I understood that it wasn't a malicious move to try and hurt me, but at that very moment, I lost my calm, and I told her in a loud and stern yelling way to never touch anyone without their consent, especially if they're yelling at them. She then stopped for a moment and then started to demand that I show her proof that she grabbed me. By the way, she's been screaming at me for the past 5 minutes now, so almost everyone in that section of the beach, which is roughly 40 people, were already staring at her. The only people who seemed to not care were her friends who were sunbathing right next to her without saying anything, which I found really funny if I'm being honest. But I was already tired, so I told her that she needed to leave the property. Now, she refused, saying that I don't have the authority, and demanded for my supervisor, which I explained is unavailable at the moment. She then said, well, I don't need to leave, so I asked her again, and I told her that I do have the authority to ask her to leave, or else I will need to call the rangers. Well, once again, she still refused. So I called up the rangers, who very quickly showed up and asked her to leave. She then looked at the rangers, which is essentially the police equivalent at my park, and said that they don't have the authority and that she can stay here if she wants to. But with that, they literally then just grabbed her and dragged her out of the park, screaming and yelling about how they can't touch her. And I gotta be completely honest, it was really entertaining to watch, so I decided to tag along. When she saw the local police waiting for her, she started crying and begging to go back. But eventually, she was charged with trespassing and barred from entering the park for the rest of the season. Her friends, by the way, this entire time were standing next to her without saying a word, and decided to stay until the park finally closed. After the whole incident, I lended her two friends life vests, and they were very chill people compared to their friend. They were also apparently very shocked to see her like this. And I don't know, it just seems really weird to freak out over a life vest because literally I was just trying to help them out and save their life. Bro, you have to have something seriously wrong with you or some kind of emotional trauma you refuse to get fixed to not only sit there and be like, you can't tell me what to do, to someone who probably has a name badge and an outfit that says, yes, I can tell you what to do, over not wearing a vest when you're going out on the water. Dude, they're just doing their job. What's the problem here? Why not just follow the rules and enjoy your time? Why do you have to go against the grain for literally no reason? And honestly, this all comes down to the fact that this lady grabbed the original poster's arm, which, by the way, that is never a good idea. Don't ever touch people like that without their permission. You can't do that to someone. Especially in the country where I come from. That's immediate oh yeah, you assaulted me. Which is not okay. You can't do that to somebody. The Karen in this story easily could have been oh, look over there. They don't have life vests. Which would have been wildly more appropriate than grabbing her by the arm and being look over here. It's dude, I don't know you like that. Don't grab my arm. Are you crazy? So personally, I love the fact that she got dragged out by the rangers because yeah, those guys can absolutely drag you out of the park. And if anything, this is hopefully a very hard lesson she's gonna learn that no, you can't treat people like that. Just because you get away with that kind of crap at home doesn't mean it's gonna work in public. And also, I bet this is probably that third wheel friend that came along on this trip that the other two girls were man, we don't like her and we're gonna stick around and enjoy the park. Because the fact that they stayed is hilarious and it shows exactly where their loyalty lies. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Today I got some petty revenge on a guy who literally almost caused an accident at a stop sign in my neighborhood. And it honestly felt great because this guy was being incredibly neglectful on the road and it was completely unacceptable. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things off, this really was just a normal day. So I arrived first at the stop sign in my neighborhood, which was well before the guy on my right with no one coming at me from the third direction. So I proceed through the intersection after stopping since I was the first to arrive at the three-way stop. Well, all of a sudden, the guy on my right turns into my path like he has the right of way and no stop sign, which yeah, as you can tell, neither of those things were true at all. I then had to slam on the brakes to avoid T-boning his driver's door as he's whipping in front of me in his work truck. When he heard my horn, he finally looked up from his phone and gave me a surprise Pikachu face. He was just too busy to pay attention to road signs and other vehicles in his way. One of those attitudes of like, oh, don't you know who I am? Well, my chance for petty revenge presented itself a few days later, as guess who pulls into my place while I'm working outside? Yeah, the guy who doesn't know how to stop at stop signs. He's the same man that in that same work truck with the same large company logo on it from the previous day who decided to just blast through the stop sign. He told me that he was working in my neighborhood at another house, which is like, yeah, I noticed, dude. And when he was driving by, he said that he saw that I could use those same services, which once again is just him admitting that he doesn't watch the road. But as you can probably imagine, there was zero chance I was giving this guy any money, especially after almost causing a wreck due to his gross negligence. But when he asked if I could walk around my place and quote me, I said sure. Go ahead and let me waste several minutes of your time as my petty little revenge. Well, this guy never did call back, and honestly, I'm really glad that he didn't, because I never intended on helping him out, especially after almost causing an accident. Okay, I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat here, especially with like other people in the comment section of this post basically saying the same thing. But like, dude, you better believe this guy probably took one trip around your house, realized that you're the guy that he almost hit, and said, oh my god, I gotta get out of here. Like, that's the reason why he didn't call back. Holy crap. He put two and two together real quick when he was walking around your place and he probably saw your car. So that's hilarious to me. I love that so much. I love the fact that you got some really nice and well-deserved revenge against this guy, especially since he almost caused an accident. Like, there's just no excuse for that. So yeah, this is some great energy and hopefully he learned his lesson. Am I the jerk for removing a trail camera on my property that my neighbor put up? Because apparently they'd been hunting on our property for like almost 5 years now, but the camera they set up is in the middle of our property pointed towards our house, which honestly just kind of made me feel weird and I just didn't like it. Here's what happened. Okay, so my family lives on a rather large piece of land, considering the fact that we live in a neighborhood with a homeowners association. Well, recently we decided to chop down a ton of trees to make room for our growing family. The remodel's almost done, so we decided to explore the remaining woods when I found a trail camera in the dead center of my property. Back during COVID days, a fellow neighbor asked if his kids could hunt in the back portion of our property and put a trail camera out. My husband brought this up, but he was under the impression that their camera was closer to their property and facing their property. This agreement, by the way, was also like 5 years ago, so we didn't really think they would still be using our property. Well, anyways, I took the camera down and inserted the SD card into my computer, and it's here that I found images of my neighbor and his kids recently dated. But after I did this, my husband is now insanely mad at me for removing the camera and said I was creating unnecessary drama between neighbors. He wouldn't even speak to me for the rest of the afternoon. But for me, I felt like it was on my property, so I have a right to see who it belongs to. I didn't break the camera or anything like that. I just turned it off and removed the SD card to try and see who it belonged to. So seriously, am I the jerk for doing so? Because this honestly is incredibly frustrating. Bro, there's no way you're the jerk here. They literally put a camera on your property. In fact, they put it back there, what, 5 years ago? Like, what are we talking about? In my opinion, any kind of verbal agreement, if anything, especially with like neighbors, that's gonna last 1 year before I check in and be like, hey, you can't do this anymore. So in my opinion, 5 years is long enough, and it's like, dude, I don't want a camera out in my backyard, especially not when it's like pointed towards my house. I don't know, that just makes me feel weird. So no, you're not the jerk. If I was in your shoes, I would literally take the camera back and be like, hey, we don't really want you doing this anymore, sorry, and just explain that you gotta find somewhere else to hunt. And that's literally the end of it. Like, you don't need to explain anything further. But hey, that's just my opinion. Like, leave a comment down below. If you really think they should have kept the SD card and like the camera in its place, then please leave a comment. I would love to hear what you have to say about this. My parents are incredibly overbearing with me in university, as they're putting way too much pressure on me to succeed, even though I am practically failing all of my classes. And right now, I really want them to stop hiring me tutors and like really obsessing over my grades, because it's honestly becoming too much and I don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, I just need to rant because I genuinely don't know what to do right now. For reference, I moved 4 states away to university to avoid this, but honestly, it's getting worse. In high school, my parents were so stressed out about my grade. And in my last year of high school, school, they would literally sit me down after they came home from work and lecture me about my grades. They would calculate my grades, talk about university, and just the possibilities of me even going to university in the first place. They would do this every day from 5 o'clock at night until 9 o'clock at night, even though I had chores to do and assignments and homework to finish. When I got into university, my parents weren't happy, but more relieved because they never thought any university would take me. Well, I'm now in university, and my first semester I struggled with. I'm doing a dual degree in engineering and chemistry, and I have lots of courses, labs, and assignments. Don't even get me started on practice work. I got a couple of D's and I failed one class because I was really struggling to adjust. Well, when the second semester came around, my parents went all out. They got me tutors, not just for one, but for all of my courses. I understand that they're just trying to help me out, and I am grateful for them trying this way, but I'm taking 7 full courses, and I've got 5+ hours of work every week for each class, not including assignments and labs, and they added 7 more 1-hour tutoring classes. I end up attending lectures, tutors, and labs from 8 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, and that's not including assignments and reports. So I basically had no time to do any actual practice of my skills. I tried telling them that it was too much and that they need to cut it down to maybe 2 classes of tutoring at max, but they simply wouldn't listen, saying that this is better this way. And then anytime I would say something about it, they would undermine the difficulty of my classes, saying that all I need to do is just memorize and practice, and that they don't know why it's so difficult for me. Well, my grades didn't improve, and if anything, they got worse. And I'm really just not sure what their reaction's gonna be like now. I don't know, I'm just so tired of them being like this. After every midterm, my dad would call me randomly for an entire week just to calculate my grade over and over again. I honestly want them to stop, but I seriously just don't know how to do it. Okay, first off, holy crap, you have a dual major of engineering and chemistry? Bro, holy crap, those are 2 very hard degrees to get anything done in. And they are literally full-time jobs in and of itself, and you're doing 2 of them. So trust me, I believe you when you say, dude, I've got no time. I literally have no time. You're practically working 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday, if not more on the weekend, just to try and stay caught up on homework and other assignments. And that sounds like a nightmare workload. I gotta be honest with you. That does not sound easy at all. And then your parents step in and they're just making it worse, even if their intentions are nice, where they're like, oh, don't worry, just memorize and study more and we'll get you more tutors. And it's no, dude, I need free time to get stuff done and I don't know, work it over in my head, or at least learn the material, because right now I have no time. Also, if the first semester is any indication, it might be time to scale back a little bit. Maybe it would be a good idea to major only in engineering or only in chemistry instead of both. That really does sound way too much, and I just don't think it's gonna be possible, especially if you hate your life like this, dude. This is just not feasible in my opinion. So hopefully this works out, and hopefully you can I don't know, pump the brakes a little bit, or at least explain to your parents that dude, I cannot be pushed like this. I'm being wore out and I'm literally burning the candle at both ends, because that's what it really looks like. And honestly, you probably should be careful of burnout, because that's probably what's going to happen next. My bartender coworker leaves his shift change unfinished every single time, leaving a mess and stacking dishes everywhere, essentially putting me in a really bad situation right in the middle of happy hour. And after dealing with this for so long, and after trying to talk to him many, many times, I'm honestly at my breaking point, and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I work at a restaurant bar in Toronto with opening and closing bartenders. During shift change, the opener is expected to restock, reset the station, and make sure the closer is set up. And closers do the exact same thing for the next morning. Well, the problem is that one bartender, who I will call Bobby, regularly leaves no garnishes, he leaves low stock, he leaves dishes piled up, and basically a messy station, which is brutal because changeover happens during happy hour. Recently, I came in for a closing shift and the bar clearly just wasn't ready. Bobby seemed more focused on making drinks than finishing the handoff. I then told him that he needed to restock first. I'll handle the drinks because otherwise it'll be double the work, setting up for my shift, then doing my close later. Eventually, it turned into an argument in front of the staff and the guests, which I didn't want. For context, we've both been there since opening about 6 months ago, so everyone knows the routine by now. I've also heard similar frustrations from other bartenders. I'm not trying to get anyone fired or create drama. I just want teamwork and a proper handoff so nobody gets buried because someone else skipped their responsibilities. Additionally, even his closes aren't the best. We have a bar team group chat, and one team member, let's call him Paul, was fired because they called Bobby out by name name multiple times. And this is all due to like multiple mornings after Bobby closing being atrocious. I really miss Paul and we work so well together, but right now I'm stuck with Bobby. So seriously, how do you handle this situation? Do I talk to him privately again or do I go to management? I'm not gonna just accept doing extra work because that's really not fair to me. What should I do? Bro, I would take pictures of this and rat this guy out so fast. Like seriously, I would document everything and then go straight to management. You've tried talking to this guy. You've tried to say like, hey, you're making my life miserable. Or at least be like, dude, you gotta restock and make sure I'm set up nicely. But it's still not getting through because guess what? This guy sucks and he doesn't care. He's that piece of crap coworker who doesn't think about the person covering for them next, who literally is just like, whatever, I'm getting out the door, see ya, have fun with happy hour and all these dishes set up. Like, dude, what are we talking about? That is obnoxious. I will say though that someone in the comment section made a really good point about this. They basically said that make sure Bobby isn't like the son of the owner or like a nepotism hire before you complain. Because if that's the case, then yeah, you're probably gonna end up like Paul. But if not, then dude, I would absolutely complain to management. This is their job and this is what they need to take care of. And if this guy's literally making it so you can't do your job properly, then yeah, he needs to be punished and corrected pretty much immediately. Am I the jerk for supposedly wasting my mom's food? After she tricked me into eating something she knows will make me vomit. Because now she's not talking to me and she's guilt tripping me and honestly treating me like crap. And now I'm really not sure if I made a mistake by turning her food down. Here's what happened. Okay, so last night I had dinner with my parents and my mother shoveled some strange looking stir-fried vegetables onto my plate. Now, just as a bit of context, I'm a very picky eater. I'm not unhealthy by any means, though I used to be mildly anemic when I was younger, but I'm generally very wary of anything I don't recognize, mostly because I physically can't eat stuff I'm not okay with. Like, for example, I will literally throw up immediately. And yes, I've tried to get past that, but it seems to be a mental block for me. Well, naturally, I asked her what the dish was, and she just replied by saying, well, just give it a try first. Now, my mother has a very short temper, and she was just recovering from a fever. So I decided not to test her patience and just took a very small bite of that, and then resumed asking her what it was that I was eating. Now, at first, she evaded the question, then in a playful way commented, well, it wasn't so bad, was it? But I pressed on even further. She then finally answered that it was pineapple, which by the way is not something that I eat. I didn't make a scene and decided just to be silent and let it pass, but she kept needling me about how I ate it perfectly fine when I didn't know what it was. But it's like, yeah, no kidding. The entire problem is me being unable to consume stuff that I'm not okay with. 5 minutes later, she lashed out completely, calling me arrogant for refusing food, as well as selfish and ungrateful. It was then accompanied by a plethora of other names that I'd rather not list. Once they finished dinner, my parents stood up, but my mother forbade me from getting up from the table without finishing what was on my plate. Close to 1 hour and 30 minutes later, I was still seated at the dining table, unable to leave and subject to her furious words. Finally, my father intervened, telling my mother to drop it in a very sensitive way, mind you. But when he said that, she lashed out at him for taking my side. And as you can probably guess, I've always been closer to my father than my mother. He then just silently went away after that and just let it go. Now, eventually, I decided to talk to her about it since she had calmed down just a little bit, but she refused to hear my side of things and told me to go dump the rest in the waste. Then she proceeded to guilt trip me and comment how it's all her fault for cooking for me. Now, I thought we had made up last night just before bed as I had made some small talk with her, but today in the morning, she's still mostly cold and ignored anything I said to her in private. Now, I realize this may come off as callous for many, but my inability to eat food is really not me being a stubborn child. It's something that I'm struggling with and she knows that. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because I really just don't know what to do. Okay, from the sounds of it, it kind of seems like the original poster might be like a teenager or something like that, because I don't know anybody in their right mind who would sit there willingly and let their parents talk to them like that, especially if they're an adult. Like, I can only speak for myself. Like, there's no way I would ever put up with that. So in that regard, I don't think you're the jerk. I think honestly, this is just like a part of growing up and like maybe experiencing new things. And trust me, I totally understand where you're coming from. I was also a really picky eater early in life. Like, I understand what's going on. So you saying, no, I literally can't eat it because I'll throw up, it sounds like maybe you might need to get some professional help for that. And I think there are options out there for like, I don't know, getting the help that you need to be able to eat food without feeling like you're gonna throw up. Now, does that mean your mom's justified in the way she acted? No, absolutely not, dude. Her reaction to you not wanting to eat pineapple is just completely overblown. And what's even worse about this is the fact that she tried to like, I don't know, rub it in your face about it, where she's like, wow, see, it's not that bad now, is it? Almost like she's trying to one-up you in some way. And like, I don't know, that's so obnoxious. I hate that so much. Also, Also, it's really important to note that talking to this woman about anything is probably pointless. Her having a short fuse and being like, wow, my husband's turning against me. I can't believe you're taking her side. Like, she is a miserable person and she's clearly taking it out on you and pretty much everybody around her. And so when it comes to like having any kind of conversation, it's honestly pointless. She's not going to listen. She's not going to care at all about what you have to say. And if anything, it's just going to be more fuel for the fire of her being like, oh yeah, I'm going to use this against you no matter what. I'm not going to understand your perspective. I'm always right. And if I'm ever proven wrong, then it's your fault. And like, honestly, the faster you realize that, the happier you're going to be, dude. Because this lady sounds like a miserable piece of crap and I just don't think anything's going to make her happy. So no, overall, you're not the jerk. I think you're just young and I think you're still trying to like figure things out. But for her to try and trick you like that, especially with food that could possibly make you throw up, like that's unacceptable and that is absolutely not okay. My parents stole $2,000 from me that was literally meant for me to use to pay for college. And now I'm honestly so pissed off because they are refusing to give it back, as they say they need this money more than I do because they're on hard times. And now I'm honestly so frustrated that I just don't know what to do. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where yes, your parents can steal from you and they expect you to say thank you, may I have another. Like bro, this first story is infuriating, so strap in for this one, it is a doozy. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk and click the bell to turn on notifications. And with that, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to university and I'm eligible for financial aid. I got an email a couple of weeks ago that I received $5,000 in a financial aid refund. I then just pushed it to the back of my mind and I forgot about it because finals were and pretty much are keeping me busy. Yesterday, I was looking through my school emails when I noticed the email about my financial aid refund again. I then checked my bank account and I noticed that I only have $3,000 out of the $5,000. I then double and then triple checked to make sure I didn't misunderstand the email, and I even sent the financial aid office an email to make sure there wasn't a glitch or a typo of some kind. Then I brought it up to my mom in the evening when I got home from an outing, and to my surprise, she knew about the money and kept $2,000 out of the $5,000 for herself. For a bit of background, my mom's account is linked to my financial aid because my grandma sends her money for whatever financial aid doesn't cover. And it turns out the financial aid refund passed through her account first before she transferred some of it to me. And my god, I didn't know this previously, but I did change it last night so the money goes through my account from now on. When I asked her about it, she didn't give me a straight answer and instead just dodged the question, laughing it off. But I awkwardly laughed with her because I didn't really know what to do at that point. But when I brought it up again later, she dodged the question again. But that's not even the worst part about it. My dad said they kept $2,000 because, oh, we need the money. This is just your rent money. Which, by the way, that's supposed to be a joke. My parents agree that the rule of the house is that me and my sister don't have to pay rent as long as we're going to college. That way we can just focus on our studies. Well, when I said that $2,000 is a ridiculous rent, he laughed at me and said, oh, go check one-room apartment listings and see how ridiculous that is. Now, here's where I might be overreacting. I'm absolutely livid at them stealing money that was supposed to cover my classes. But we are living off of like one income, and sometimes we struggle to pay bills. My mom is the only one working, so me and my sister take care of like the inside and outside chores, and my dad's retired and mainly just does the outside chores with us, like mowing the lawn, picking up some broken branches, etc. Part of me feels like they should have the money because of our situation, so that in and of itself is not what I'm mad about, but rather I'm mad because they did not ask or even inform me before taking the money, and that they took from me when my sister has repeatedly told them they can take from her account if they need any money for any reason. Which, by the way, in case you didn't connect the dots, yes, my mom also has access to her account too. So seriously, am I overreacting for being pissed off at this? Or am I simply out of line because of our money situation? What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, there is never a universe where anyone taking money that's meant for you is somehow okay. This is not some Robin Hood situation where it's like, oh, we really need the money more than you do. It's fine, you'll get by with $3,000. It's like, no, that's not how this works at all. I was supposed to get $5,000 for my schooling, and these people stole $2,000. It's not even like them being deserving of it. They're not entitled to that. That is literally meant for your schooling experience. Like, that money is there so you can buy books and like, I don't know, go to classes. Like, are you kidding me right now? College is already expensive enough and now your parents are robbing you right out of your back pocket? Like, holy crap, that is so inappropriate and not okay in my opinion. So if anything, I honestly think you're underreacting. I would be so pissed off at them. I would be demanding that money back right now. And this is not you ignoring their struggles or whatever might be going on in their life. Like, sure, they might be struggling and they're not making ends meet in their life, whatever. But stealing from your kid isn't the answer. Taking money out of their pocket that they're using for their education is not okay. okay. And guess what? In some states, that's literally a felony. Like, that is seriously messed up. I think they're playing with fire by doing this because there is no justifying this behavior. And if I was in your shoes, I would be demanding that money back. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I really the jerk for not letting my nephew play my PlayStation 5 by himself during family dinner? As this kid has a hot streak of breaking electronics anytime he gets frustrated. Because now my sister's making it sound like I'm a monster for not letting him play, even though I'm just trying to protect something that cost me a lot of money. Here's basically how it all started. I'm a 25-year-old female, and last weekend I hosted dinner at my apartment. It was just my family, and it was really nothing formal, like all we did was eat pizza. Now, my sister brought my nephew who's 11 years old. I love him a lot, but he can be really rough with electronics. Not in some like evil way, but rather he's just really careless. He's cracked his tablet screen twice, spilled juice near my mom's laptop and ruined the keyboard, and once threw a Switch controller onto the couch when he lost, but it bounced off and hit the floor. My sister usually says he gets excited and accidents happen, which is true, but somehow the person with a broken thing is always the one paying for it. Now, with that out of the way, I have a PlayStation 5 in my living room. I bought it last year after wanting one for ages, and I am careful with it. When my nephew walked in the door, he saw it right away and asked to play it. But I said not during dinner. After we eat, we can play something together. But he kept asking while we were setting the table. My sister said I should just let him play in the living room so the adults could talk and so that he wouldn't be bored. I then told my nephew again that we would play after dinner. Then I went ahead and I talked to my sister in the kitchen where he couldn't hear us. I said, look, I don't want him sitting alone with it while everyone was eating, partly because he gets frustrated with games and also because I didn't want him feeling ignored in the living room by himself. My sister then got embarrassed and said I was making him sound like a destructive little monster, but I said that wasn't what I meant. I told her I wasn't saying no to him. I was just saying no to him using the PlayStation 5 to keep him occupied while nobody was around watching him. During dinner, he asked again, and I just told him that we could play together after dessert. And while he seemed disappointed, he was still okay. Meanwhile, my sister said that I was being dramatic and treating him like a problem, and that really made things very weird very quickly. After dinner, him and I played for like an hour and it was completely fine. He actually had fun and honestly nothing bad happened. But after they left, my sister texted that I made her son feel unwelcome and that I shouldn't host family if I'm gonna be precious about a video game console. So am I the jerk here? Like seriously, what did I do wrong? Because I don't know what to do here. Okay, you're not the jerk at all because I understand exactly where you're coming from. I've got some younger family members who I definitely would never trust with any of my consoles or like my computer. Like, no way, bro, you're not getting anywhere near my stuff, especially if I dropped like a couple hundred or like over $1,000 on it. Like, no, you're not breaking my stuff. You can break mommy and daddy's crap, but you're not breaking my crap. Absolutely not. So if you gotta wait till after dinner, then congratulations, you're gonna wait till after dinner. And also, you're not the jerk for telling your sister the truth. You try to do it in a private way and be like, hey man, he gets frustrated. I don't want him breaking my stuff. Like, sorry, but he's got to wait until I'm ready for it. In my opinion, that's completely reasonable. And I think the fact that she's trying to dismiss it and be like, oh no, just let him play. It's not that big of a deal. It's fine. But it's like, dude, a PlayStation controller costs like over $80 in America. Are you kidding me right now? If that little idiot breaks it, I expect you to pay for it. Oh wait, you're not going to pay for it? Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So we're going to wait until I'm ready to sit there and make sure he doesn't destroy my stuff to then touch the PlayStation 5. Like, come on now. So no, you're not the jerk. Your sister's being stupid, and I think you did the right thing here. Am I the jerk for refusing to attend my sister's wedding, all because she's demanding I give $500 towards her honeymoon fund, despite the fact that I'm taking pictures of her wedding for her? Because right now it's become this whole thing and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. I'm a 26-year-old amateur photographer and I have spent thousands of dollars on my photography material. And despite being an amateur photographer and not a professional, I'm generally the go-to guy in the family when it comes to pictures at any events. And usually it's fine, like I enjoy the experience. However, this time it's a completely different scenario. This August, my sister, who I will call Chloe, is 29 years old and she's getting married. A while back, she asked me to photograph the ceremony so she could save some money. I promised her, hey, I can definitely work for free at the dinner rehearsals and preparation before the ceremony for family, but they really should hire a professional photographer because I want to enjoy my evening there, you know, being a guest at my sister's wedding. Well, unfortunately, Chloe couldn't find any good photographers and asked me to do everything alone. So we agreed that in this case, I can shoot the whole whole wedding, but I would want a $1,200 lens that I've been wanting to buy for a while now. Well, yesterday, Chloe had sent me my official invitation along with a registry note. And basically, she intended to fund her honeymoon with contributions from each guest who could give her something, and she was actually wondering why I hadn't contributed $500 yet. So I told her, well, actually, I'm going to be working for nothing at the wedding ceremony just for the sake of getting a premium camera lens that costs more than the total contribution put together. When I said this, Chloe went ballistic and claimed that the camera is a gift in return for the help I'm offering, but even still, she says I need to contribute $500 as the standard guest contribution, because we're family. Essentially, she meant that if I don't contribute $500, then I will be charging my own sister to attend her wedding, but if I do, I'll basically be working a whole day for like $700. But I told her, if I'm supposed to work for 12 hours and contribute $500, then there won't be any deal. I won't attend the wedding or take any pictures. Well, because of that, now my parents are claiming that I'm being greedy and spoiling my sister's day with petty issues. So seriously, am I really the jerk here? Like, did I do anything wrong? Because I'm very frustrated over this and I don't know where to go from here. Dude, your sister is so spoiled rotten, it's not even funny. She's literally trying to sit there and be like, you need to pay for my honeymoon. And if you don't, then this is really bad. Like, you're really not a good member of the family. But it's like, dude, first of all, you didn't plan out having a photographer because you're like, oh, don't worry, my brother will do it. And secondly, she's trying to shortchange your ability to make money off this wedding. Like, that's 12 hours of work. That's a lot of work to be done. And she's trying to sit there and be like, oh, you need to give 500 of that back. It's like, what are we doing here? That is so stupid. So no, this all goes back to your sister, and this is absolutely not your fault. Am I the jerk for not wanting my sister-in-law to stay with us, as her living situation kind of dissolved and now she's couch hopping? Because let me tell you something, my sister-in-law is not a good person and I don't want anything to do with her. And at this point, I'm not sure what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, when I was dating my husband about 5 years ago, I was eager to meet his family and encouraged him to have better family relationships, including with the mother of his child. He tried to explain to me that there were a lot of factors involved and it wasn't that simple. But when I met the mother of his 8-year-old child, things went really smooth and we still have a good relationship to this day. So I figured his immediate family would be the same, but holy crap, I was completely wrong. His family has a different foreign background than mine and his mother doesn't speak English very well, but we can still communicate and get along. Although I've noticed after a while that she is passive aggressive at times and she's really hard to reason with. His father's a saint and I love him dearly, but I also feel very distant at the same time, which is something I'll explain later on. But his sister, on the other hand, holy crap, she is a completely different story altogether. Now, his parents are much older. I think his mom had her when she was like in her 50s, honestly, because I believe she's like 75 now. There's an 8-year age gap between my husband's 2 half-brothers, my husband, and his sister. So needless to say, his parents were provably burnt out when they had her, but tried, I guess. They all lived where we are now, but my husband's half-brother got deported for dealing some illegal substances, and the other half-brother barely speaks to anyone from the family anymore. So by the time the sister-in-law was like 16 years old, his parents moved to another state and my husband already had his son here and was old enough to be on his own, but barely making it work by going to work literally 80 hours a week trying to support himself and his son. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, hated the new state and threatened her parents and herself, if you know what I mean, and actually got her parents to let her stay with her half-brother who wasn't deported. They gave up their daughter's bedroom for her to stay there and ultimately got kicked out because she was coming home in the middle of the night and smoking the herb, if you know what I mean, and they were simply not okay with all of that. Now, my mother-in-law still thinks they're in the wrong for throwing her out, but in my opinion, I'm proud of them for sticking up for their family. My in-laws then proceeded to rent her out of her own apartment while she finishes up high school, and she literally had no guidance and lived however she wanted with no consequences, or literally anybody to watch her for that matter. In my opinion, you can go about things one of two ways. You can go through the rough parts and come out of it deciding that you don't want to be better, or you can choose to be someone who uses that as an excuse as to why you're a piece of garbage. I don't think she had a bad life at all, but she acts like she grew up in like the ghetto when that's definitely not the case. She has no empathy for those around her. She does whatever she wants. She's aggressive, she's rude, problematic, and a moocher, and the world basically revolves around her. Meanwhile, she's a victimizer, she's careless, and she's broke. I've tried to build some sort of relationship with her. I really have. But I completely stopped trying after one time when I asked her to trim my hair and just dye it very simply just a little bit darker. And just as a side note, she went to beauty school, so I really thought she could handle this. Well, my hair turned out to be a freaking disaster, and we're talking me literally crying crying in front of her disaster. Now, she didn't say sorry or anything. She just said, okay, bye. And she looked embarrassed, but like there was no apology at all. And I ended up spending upwards of like $4,000 getting extensions and maintaining it just to fix the mess that she made. And trust me, I wanted to confront her, but my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, begged me not to, saying that it would just create huge issues and he didn't want his family to have a problem with me. Well, I called my husband's baby mother and she said she posted her hair after she went to the salon to fix it because it was completely botched. I then told her, man, I wish you told me beforehand because I would have never let her touch me. Now, other times I've invited her to go out with me and my friend, and when she does, she just sits there and eats and orders stuff and never gave me any money or offered any money to like pitch in for the stuff we got. Instead, she just watched me and my friend pay, and honestly, I was so embarrassed because literally my friend had to help pick up the tab. And trust me, there are a lot of other things besides this, but these are just a few examples. Another major issue which has me fuming is that her parents pay her rent, her car, the insurance, and give her money to pay for her other things. Meanwhile, she posts online pictures of her smoking and drinking and selling all kinds of things. She posts hanging out with the wrong people. She's got tattoos from head to toe, and her mom just doesn't say a word about it. In fact, she sort of like encourages it. In my opinion, if you're going to get face tattoos or like a huge neck tattoo or a hand tattoo, you should probably have like an established career or a path first because you still want to be able to look professional to some extent. She doesn't have a problem with her dad paying 2 rents just so she can live in a different state doing things that she shouldn't be doing. Her dad wants to stop supporting her, but of course, mom goes bat crazy whenever it's mentioned, saying that they can't just leave their daughter unsupported. But it's like, seriously, no one's saying that. Bring her to your home instead of leaving her here and breaking the bank just so she can do whatever she wants. Narrator here, get ready for this next sentence. This is insane. Okay, here's what they said. Recently, her parents found out that she had racked up 81 parking tickets in the town where they rent her apartment. And yeah, you heard that right, 81 parking tickets. Are you kidding me? These are sweeper tickets. She simply just doesn't wake up to move her car and eats those tickets but doesn't pay them. So since the car she has is in her mom's name, her mom's license is suspended. She literally left it up to her parents to figure it out, and they had to hire a lawyer to try and fix everything, but it doesn't look too good, especially now that they keep sending letters to our home after his dad changed the address. Like, holy crap, it is messy. Now, she has a friend who has affordable housing and recently was moving to another home and even offered it to my sister-in-law under the table, and guess what? She took the offer, and honestly, I was happy for her as it was a better area and his parents would have to pay a lower rent. Well, unfortunately, someone outed her and she ended up getting kicked out a week after it happened, so she's just kind of couch hopping at the moment. Now, with that in mind, my husband and I are not offering to help her out as we are not financially stable right now, and this is because of many reasons. I'm still in college, we just had a daughter who turned 1 year old, I have student loans that we have to pay off after I graduate, etc. We also live in a dusty 2-bedroom that is just not enough space for us, and when his parents come to visit, they definitely are not comfortable, but you know what? They make do. Quite frankly, even if we had the space, I still wouldn't want her in our home. Even my husband's kid and his baby mama have shunned her and don't want anything to do with her. His parents are flying in next week, and honestly, it's a super inconvenient time as I simply have a lot to do right now. Plus, they never ask. They just book their flights, which is already super annoying, but my husband thinks they're just trying to figure out her living situation. And I'm seriously worried that his mom's gonna try and pick a fight with us to get her to stay with us. But I absolutely will not let her around my daughter. Like, that is absolutely not gonna happen. So am I the jerk in this situation for the way I feel about my sister-in-law? She's a lot to handle, and honestly, I just don't know what to do. Okay, dude, your sister-in-law sucks. That is not a good person. That's the kind of person who, if you let her in your house, she would never leave. She would use every excuse under the sun to stay there as long as possible. Like, she would immediately become one of those squatters who just is there for a certain amount of time, and then they can justify staying there as long as they want, and it'll take 3 months to get her out. Like, that is miserable, and I would hate to deal with that. And the fact that the parents are enabling this lady, like, what are they doing? They need to cut the umbilical cord and be like, okay, be free, adult child. Go live your life and get a job and do what you need to do because we cannot keep supporting you. Like, it is sad that they're just sitting there being like, I guess we have to support her. If we don't give her money, she's gonna just completely wither away. But it's like, dude, sometimes people need to learn the hard way. So no, dude, you are not the jerk. You have some very clear boundaries and you're like, dude, she cannot live with us. We can't afford it and I don't want her around my kid, especially if she's acting like that and making these kind of terrible decisions. Because guess what? It's going to eventually catch up to her and I would not want to be around when that happens. My entitled boss demanded that I unclog a toilet at work, but when she made that request, I shut her down and said no, essentially putting me in hot water as she really expected me to take care of that regardless of what my job description is. And now I'm not sure what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so today at work, I was translating during a Zoom hearing. We then had a 15-minute break and our client used the restroom. And when they came back, they told me the toilet was clogged. So I let one of my bosses know what was going on, and I assumed the solution would be to temporarily close the restroom or put up a sign saying that it was out of order. This happened in a common area with a few coworkers around. My other boss, meanwhile, was in her office and I didn't realize that she could hear. She then called out from her office and said, "Hey, can you grab the plunger and unclog it?" referring to me literally in front of others. I then responded by saying, well, why would that be my job? Wouldn't that be the maintenance person's job? Now, for reference, we'll call this maintenance person Rick, and Rick just so happens to be my boss's husband. Well, she didn't reply at the time, so I just walked away. Later on, though, she came to my desk in an open area and asked me if I had an issue and why I was being passive-aggressive. But I told her I didn't feel like I was being passive-aggressive, I was just responding to her comment. She then asked if I thought I was above cleaning a toilet. I then said no, but it's definitely not part of my job responsibilities, I'm a paralegal. She then asked, well, what do I do if my toilet at home gets clogged? And I just responded, well, my husband usually handles it. She then asked me, well, what would you do if he wasn't home? Would you just wait all day? But I responded back by saying no, but that's my home, not my workplace. She then said that whoever finds the problem should take care of it. But I pointed out that I didn't even discover it, like the client just told me. And so I asked, well, if by that logic, should the client have just handled it? And she said no, because clients shouldn't be expected to do that. I responded that regardless of whoever discovers the issue, it shouldn't fall on them, it should be handled by maintenance. Also, earlier in that day, that same boss messaged me asking about a client while I was actively in a Zoom hearing. Once I was available, I responded by saying, sorry for the delayed response. As it stated in the calendar, we're in a Zoom hearing. Regarding your question, we have received the deferred action of the client, and the notice should be available in the file and recorded in the immigration logs. While she was at my desk, she brought this up and told me that my response came across as passive-aggressive, which I didn't intend. The conversation then became a bit tense, and she said that we would continue on it later. Now, at that point, I felt overwhelmed. I started packing up my things, and I waited until lunch to leave. I then called my partner because I felt like I might be in the wrong, but he said I wasn't. I then went back to the office and I spoke to my other manager, and I told him that I wanted to take the rest of the day off. He agreed with me and told me to leave, saying that he would tell my main boss who's got a problem with me that he suspended me so she would think that he took her side. He even gave me $200. So I left, and now it's the next day and I haven't spoken to this boss. For context, I've worked there for almost 7 years. This is a very small family-run office with 2 owners. Her husband is listed as the maintenance person, but he's rarely actually at the office, so there isn't really someone readily available to handle issues like that. Because of that, the staff, including receptionists and paralegals, are often expected to be taking on extra tasks, like taking out the trash instead of hiring outside help when in reality it's not on their job description. It's done for them to save money instead of hiring outside help. So seriously, did I overreact here? Because I really don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble or not. Okay, dude, you did the right thing. First off, your main boss, the one that's like got a problem with you, the only reason she was trying to like get on your back about something work related was because you proved her wrong about that stupid toilet. Like seriously, you're probably the only person that stood your ground against this lady and basically told her to go kick rocks because it's like, no, you shouldn't be expected to unclog the toilet. That really is a maintenance person's job. Like, I'm not gonna unclog the toilet for someone else's problem. That is absolutely not gonna happen. I could care less. Also, I've worked in situations where it's like, oh yeah, this place is owned by a husband and wife. Yeah, this is not gonna last. I'm probably gonna quit. Which is exactly what I did, and I can only highly recommend that for you. Because trust me when I say this, if they can find a reason to get rid of you, they will look for it desperately. They will do anything it takes to be like, oh, you don't want to unclog the toilet? Then we can find someone who will unclog it. Like seriously, if I was in your shoes, I would be finding a different job and getting out of there. Because who knows if this is just like the tip of the iceberg or what. My manager is forcing me to get Google reviews above anything else in my restaurant job, as they literally don't care about how I'm doing with customer service or anything else. They only care about Google reviews for the restaurant itself, and it's honestly driving me crazy, and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I work at a restaurant in downtown Toronto, and I've done this for the past few years now, and let me tell you something. Today, I cried the whole night at home, thinking about how my manager told me that I couldn't even get a review from customers. These days, my manager has been pushing so hard for Google reviews. At our restaurant, there's a QR code on every table that if you scan it and give a review, you'll get a free drink or something like that. So today my manager texted me at around 2 o'clock and asked me if there were any customers in the restaurant. I was so confused when they asked me this, so I just said, yeah, there's customers. But she then said, well, how come there's no reviews in 3 hours? Now, I work alone in the morning time until about like 5 o'clock at night, and I have to do my preparation, I have to do the cashier role, and serving all by myself. Everyone who comes in eats off the lunch menu, which already includes a drink. So from my point of view, it's really hard to get a review, and I genuinely just don't like pushing the customers to write it. Granted, I always do my job. All of my regular customers constantly come back, and I've served them well in this industry for about 5 years now. Some customers love me and always come back, and I know their regular orders. They sit down, they eat, and then they leave. And they always see the QR code to give a review. Customers know that if they give a review, they get a free drink. They don't care to give that because the manager or bosses never see those things. Like, they don't see the side of the server at all. And they really think that we can just get reviews so easily just by asking. I really don't like begging for reviews because I feel like those are not real. And I also feel like I annoy the customers by asking for reviews. But I always try when I can, simply because I have to. So anyways, my manager said to me, well, when other people work in the morning, they get at least 5 reviews. How come you have 0? You have to get a minimum of that much. And after I saw that message, man, I felt like I was being compared to other employees. I feel like I'm back in high school and getting bullied in front of everybody. You might think I overreacted to it, but this is how I felt. And my manager didn't ask me privately to like talk about this, but instead they chose to mention my name and say in a group chat in front of everyone. In fact, after my shift, the night manager mentioned one of the employees by name and said, oh yeah, they did a great job getting all those reviews. And that message made me feel really sad since I felt like I got compared again. And it's like, why is the manager always having to mention it in front of everybody? And now every day I'm scared that I just can't get the reviews that I need. I feel so pressured and forced. And the way the manager is basically like forcing us and like comparing us in front of everybody and having this weird habit of like mentioning it in front of everyone makes me feel even worse. And now working isn't about working anymore. It's about aiming for the Google review. Like, I've even considered buying fake reviews just to get them off my back. Like, this is how much I get pressured and forced into this. Now, if you tell me to quit this job, listen, I know myself and I know how much I put into this job emotionally. And I did everything for my job for like 3 years. I feel very sad about how I'm getting treated just because I can't get stupid Google reviews. And also, the manager in this situation became the manager of the restaurant like a month ago. And my boss is probably forcing the manager to get reviews of the restaurant while also using the incentive of money for all the reviews they get. Like, I'm pretty sure my manager is getting paid more for all the reviews that are happening on like our Google account. It all just feels so unfair. Like, I really just can't stop thinking about it because right now I seriously just don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna be really mean and be really dishonest here, but dude, if you gotta game the system, then game the system. If your manager is pushing for at least 5 Google reviews per shift, well then congratulations, welcome to the world of AI because I'm about to computer the crap out of this. Seriously, if my job was on the line where I have to meet some stupid metric that my boss is implementing, then you better believe I'm gonna meet that metric, and I would go through any means necessary to keep that job if it really meant that like, okay, they'll get off my back and I get these Google reviews and everybody's happy. And you can use your imagination, man, whether you're like getting your cousin to write 5 Google reviews a day or whatever, or you write a program or something like that. Like, there's gotta be some solution here that allows you to keep your job and get them off your back. So I don't know, man, get creative. Don't let this keep you down. You just want to do your job, dude. You just want to serve people food and have a good time. You want to enjoy your job. Like, you clearly have regulars that come in and enjoy themselves. So for your boss and the manager to be like, we need Google reviews, that's the only thing that matters. It's like, yeah, okay, well, customer service is like the backbone of this business. And if we can't do that basic function of it, then nothing else is going to work out. Oh, and by the way, you're stressing me out. So I'm just going to cheat. I'm 100% going to cheat the system so I get to keep my job. Like, I'm not going to lose food on my table and medicine in my cabinets just because you think these Google reviews are so important. Like, I would do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm still employed and I'm still happy and fed, because this is seriously annoying. Like, this is up there with working at GameStop and being like, do you want to sign up for our rewards program? Or working at like, I don't know, some clothing store and it's like, do you want to buy a credit card with us? And it's like, you don't want to say it, but you have to because it's some stupid corporate crap. Like, this is the exact same vein of that. It is so annoying. So hang in there, man. Like, don't let this get you down. If these people really want these precious Google reviews and they mean that much, then personally, if I was in your shoes, I would cheat. I would do whatever it takes to make sure I meet whatever quota they're trying to give me. And if that means you have to like start buying reviews, then screw it. Buy reviews. Who gives a crap? Because these people are focusing on the wrong things. Oh, and by the way, while you're looking for that, that, I am gonna tell you to quit your job. I think you should find a different job than this crap. Like, this sounds miserable, dude. I would never want to work here. Can you imagine showing up to work every day and they're like, you're not doing enough, and yet all of the customers that come in are happy, and like your regulars are really happy to see you, and they ask for you specifically? It's like, dude, I'm doing my job, but this one part of it that you're clearly hyper focused on, oh, that's the most important part of my job. Nothing else counts, apparently. Like, give me a break. That is so dumb. So yeah, dude, get a better job. These people suck. I would not stick around at this place. I'd start looking for a job yesterday and like absolutely dump this place to the curb as soon as I get one, because what you're describing sounds like a nightmare and I would hate to work there. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I the jerk for not letting my sister's boyfriend attend my wedding, as they've literally only been dating for like a month, and I'm pretty sure they're just gonna break up just like the last guy? Because after we said no, a lot of people are starting to make this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. And at this point, I don't know what to do about this. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my soon-to-be wife and I are getting married at the end of June, and for the sake of the story, we'll just call her Tina. We've already gone through finding the venue, we've gotten catering, flowers, invitations, a band, etc., and everything's being paid for and ready for the big day. And honestly, we wanted a relatively small wedding. Our guest list started at around 50 people, and it's now up to 67 people, including children, with some people who still haven't confirmed if they're going or not. If everybody who was invited ends up showing up, then it'll be about 72 people in total. But I don't think everyone will show up, as this happens at most weddings. Now, this is where the drama really starts. My sister, who I will call Melinda, asked if she could bring her new boyfriend of 1 month, who I will call Donnie, to the wedding. For reference, Melinda's 19 and Donnie is 20. And just for a bit of background, Melinda is the baby of the family and almost always gets her way. She's very spoiled and generally unaware of what the world is really like. She can always count on our parents to have her back and cater to her needs. She's very sweet and puts on the baby voice to act like she isn't as smart as she actually is. She lacks common sense and can be very selfish at times. I still love her very much, but my parents did and still do treat her better than me. My parents are good parents. However, they do display blatant acts of favoritism towards other siblings. In fact, I'm often excluded from family excursions, and I feel like I can't talk to my parents because they just get upset and start acting like, oh, I guess I'm just the horrible mother trope. They can be very manipulative and see no wrongdoing on their parts. And I don't really fault Melinda for this because my parents did it with their parenting. Anyways, Tina and I said her boyfriend could not come due to the catering being paid off, which it is, and it would cost us more money just to add him in. We also don't want someone who has no connection to us and who most likely won't be in our lives 6 months from now at our wedding. She was single when we sent out our invitations months ago, and she never had a +1 because she didn't need one. And guess what? She didn't ask for one either. Melinda's also a bridesmaid, so she would be busy getting ready and wouldn't be able to sit with or even be with her boyfriend until the reception. So he would essentially just be there by himself for over half the day. So basically, we don't really know him, as they literally just got together. Like, I'm not even sure if he knows our names. I understand they could be together forever, but I just feel like the relationship is just way too new. And I don't see a reason why we need him to like see me and Tina commit to each other under God when he doesn't even know us or our families. Every important event Melinda attends, she always brings different people with her, and it's always with people she's no longer friends with or in a relationship with. She also got asked to prom at my proposal by her old boyfriend. They didn't even go to prom together, and guess what? They ended up breaking up. And this guy's even in some of her graduation photos. So to cut to it, we basically told her no, he can't come along. And she did sound sad, but she said okay. And my God, I thought that was the end of it, but holy crap. Fast forward and it's a complete mess. My dad sent me a text message saying Donnie was coming to the wedding because we wouldn't have that many people there on our side, and there's no reason why he can't come. Now this really upset me because they were telling us what was going to happen at our wedding. I will also add that my parents did give us some money and we used it towards the catering, and it paid for most of the food, but not all of it. We still had to pay for the extra people, and any extra people that we added will be out of our pockets. And just to add in, because it's fair, Tina's family also helped out financially. We asked for no help from either side of our families, and everything we received was offered. We still paid for like over 3/4 of the wedding by ourselves. Anyways, after I received this text message, I called my parents and I expressed to them that, hey, I don't want to argue, but they immediately started demanding that we let Donnie attend the wedding just so Melinda would have someone to be there with her because she would be bored at the wedding. Well, I then explained why, and I just straight up said no. But that soon turned into an argument to where they called me and my soon-to-be wife selfish. They told us that we didn't know how weddings worked and that my sister would be sad if Donnie couldn't come. But I said to them, she hasn't even been with him that long. Like, what if they break up? He'll now be in my wedding photos. It then got to the point where they said they weren't coming to the wedding and essentially started giving me an ultimatum. But at the end of it, I just refused and ended the call with them. My parents then went on to tell the rest of the family about this, and now they're really telling me to just let this guy show up to our wedding. That way I don't regret my parents not being there. My aunt and my brother are on my side, and I think my parents will regret missing this event later on, but I'm always being the bigger person in situations like this, and I'm tired of it. Seriously, this is my wedding, and I think I should choose who I celebrate with. I want to find a way to just end this because I don't want the drama to distract from our wedding, and I do want my parents there, but at the same time, they're acting like this, and I really believe that my wishes and opinions are just being completely ignored. So seriously, are we really the jerks for not wanting this nobody boyfriend showing up to our wedding? Because I don't really know what to do anymore, and I'm seriously pissed off. Oh my gosh, your parents are weird. They clearly spoil the crap out of Melinda, and this is obviously showing right now. For them to be like, oh, you need to let Donnie in, otherwise we're not showing up. Like, dude, that is some crazy behavior. I don't care who you are. And it's also especially alarming that they're really trying to sit there and like defend this situation. Because dude, Melinda's done this before, man. She's done this at graduation photos and God knows how many other events. It's like she gets a new boyfriend or a friend and is like, oh yeah, come to this special event, it'll be good. And then she breaks up 3 months later. It's like, dude, this is honestly stupid. In my opinion, I think you're completely justified by saying, no, he's not showing up, because honestly, I agree with that. But if for some reason you cave or you give in because you're like, okay, I want my parents to be there, I just have to let this happen, then I think you should definitely take 2 sets of photos, one with Donnie in them and one without it. That way you can guarantee that you've got some good photos that don't have that idiot in it, because you don't know if he's gonna stick around. So yeah, you're not the jerk at all. This is stupid. Anyone trying to be like, oh, Donnie needs to show up or we're not gonna be there, those people are making a terrible decision, and that is absolutely not your fault. Am I the jerk for buying a house with my friends rather than renting in perpetuity just so I could instead live with my girlfriend? Because the way it's set up right now, my girlfriend could not move in with me even if she wanted to. And at this point, I feel like I might have made a mistake here and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, so me and all of my friends are 22 years old and we graduated a little over a year ago. I spent about a year as like a research assistant to a storm chaser who was wandering all over the American Midwest and most of the Deep South. The job ended and I ended up having another one lined up. I had about 80 grand in the bank from previous savings from summer days working as a lifeguard or when I had a dog walking empire that I built when I was a teenager. Plus the research assistant gig on top of that definitely added up. A few of my buddies had very similar savings, but none of us could afford a house individually. But together we could swing a $400,000 property. This was a place with some land by the river that was set up as a rental with 6 apartments essentially modulated from different parts of the property. This place already had like paid for solar panels, as well as a few small windmills and a water well, so any kind of utility bill was non-existent. So we got a lawyer involved, and the house has to be sold in 7 years, unless me and pretty much everybody else agreed unanimously to keep the property. The house is in a trust, and a contract has been written regulating approved uses of the property. And there's an important fact here. No girlfriends or wives can move in, and no one's permitted to start a family and live on the property, or else they forfeit their stake in the house. And this is just a precaution so that none of our girlfriends try to move in and pull, well, I live here too kind of crap, and try to suddenly take over the place. And obviously, no offense to any women reading this was just our way of avoiding a girl trying to kick everybody out of the property so she and one of my buddies can like set up a family home or some crap like that. It is a blunt but necessary measure given how my one friend's girlfriend currently is acting. You give the girl an inch and my god, she will try to take over all of Central Europe like Napoleon in his first round of conquest. We also have like this mandatory meeting amongst all of us once a quarter to address any issues with maintenance and things for the property. Now, with all that out of the way, I need to say that my girlfriend is pissed that I did not ask her to move in with me. So seriously, with all that in mind, am I really the jerk for this? I mean, I now own property that is a 15-minute walk from work, and I got a main floor of the house of a nice private 3-bedroom, 1-bath apartment set up so that we have like land river access with a dock for fishing and boating. And I've got access to the sidewalk to walk to work if I really don't want to like spend money on gas. So seriously, am I the jerk? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, I don't think you're the jerk at all for like setting this up and getting a house with your friends. Like, totally go for it. It really seems like you guys know what you're doing and you know what you want out of this. But in my opinion, I think it was really stupid to be like, oh yeah, and none of our girlfriends can move in. No wives or anybody. That is not allowed. Like, holy crap, you guys are pigeonholing yourself for the next 7 years. Like, what are we talking about right now? Because this literally is the result of it. The girlfriend is probably like, wait, you bought a house, but I can't live with you? Like, what are we doing? And sure, you can still obviously make it work. Like, you don't have to live together, but it sounds like this was kind of an expectation between the two of you, and now your girlfriend's like, wait a second, I'm kind of left high and dry, which in my opinion makes sense. Like, I can completely understand where she's coming from. On the other hand, though, when you've got people like this one friend's girlfriend who's like, oh, I'm gonna take all of it, it kind of makes me believe like, yeah, this was probably a good idea specifically for this one guy, but it also kind of screws everybody else over. So no, you're not inherently like the jerk for doing this, but I think there are consequences to making this decision. And unfortunately, if it means your girlfriend's pissed off, then that's just something you're gonna have to live with. Am I the jerk for not wanting to help my friend after she literally let her kid mess up all the hard work I had done in her house? Because after I had spent literally 3 hours cleaning and vacuuming and just really tidying up her place, her stupid toddler destroyed all that hard work in seconds. And now I'm really pissed off and I don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I have a friend who's struggling with a messy house. She asked me to come over to help her clean, and I did, and I have several times now. But this time I cleaned her 2.5-year-old's room. It was quite bad, but I spent about 3 hours organizing the toys, the books, and folding clothes and all this other stuff. And my God, it was a lot of work, but I managed to get it mostly clean and was about to vacuum the floor and put some piles of folded clothes away in a bin when she suddenly came in with a 2.5-year-old. She then let her toddler help by picking up the piles and dumping them on the ground. So literally an hour of folding was gone in seconds. Then she let her dump all the toys and then decided she wanted to clean the closet, so she took everything out. I attempted to gently redirect the toddler, but there's not much I can do when the mom is right there finding it funny. Now look, I totally get that 2-year-olds can make a mess really quickly. I have 2 kids of my own who are a little bit older now, ages 11 and 13, and I work with preschoolers. But because of that, I also know that I would never let my kids destroy somebody's work that they had just did for me and then laugh about it. I would have redirected to another activity, and if that didn't work, I'd have picked them up and removed them from the room and redirected again in another room and empathized with whatever meltdown, at least until the clothes were picked up. The room looked not quite as bad as when I started because I'd gotten all the trash and junk out, but seriously, it was not a ton better. And this is all after 3 hours of cleaning when I should have been home studying. It's also important to note that she literally asked me to help her clean all the time. Her house is quite bad, and it's not entirely on her because she moved into a house from her in-laws with a ton of stuff already in it. I would like to be able to help her, but at the same time, I don't want to, especially if she's just gonna let it all be undone in seconds. And I admit, there is a side of this that I do feel like she's just generally permissive in parenting. An example being that she called me last night asking me to stop studying for my finals in a few days just so I would drive over to sit in the car with her kid in her driveway because she was refusing to get out of the car and my friend needed to go inside to use the restroom. Apparently, it had already been half an hour, but I told her, look, you just need to take her inside. The toddler doesn't need to be happy about it, but she insisted that she could not because she's just rebuckling herself. I then just told her straight up, no, I can't come over, and when I did that, she was annoyed. I could be absolutely overreacting here because I'm already annoyed, but seriously, am I really the jerk here? Am I in the wrong for being pissed off at this? Because I really don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, it's time to cut the cord, dude. It's time to take a step back, really take a deep breath, and realize that your friend's using you. She's like, oh yeah, can you help me clean up? Oh, by the way, my kid's gonna destroy your hard work. See ya. Thanks a lot. Isn't that funny? That's so funny what they're doing. It's like, no, dude, this is not funny at all. You're a terrible parent and you don't know how to be a parent. Like, I'm willing to bet the only reason she has you coming over there is because you work with preschoolers. And you're actually someone who knows how to handle kids and she doesn't. Like, seriously, you really can't get your kid out of the car seat and bring him inside? Like, bro, snatch him up and bring him inside. They're gonna be pissed, but who cares? It's a toddler. They're gonna be pissed no matter what when they don't get their way. Like, what are we talking about? And honestly, I'm not trying to be mean. Like, I totally understand. Raising kids is hard. It's never easy and it's very frustrating. But if you're gonna sit in the car and be like, oh my God, my kid's not letting me go inside. It's like, no, dude, you're the one that's not letting yourself go inside. Like, this is really easily solved. You just don't want to do it. So no, you're not the jerk, dude. I would probably stop helping this friend altogether because they're not acting like a friend. If anything, they want you to become the parent in this situation because they clearly can't handle it, and that sounds obnoxious and I would never want that. My wife's creepy friend literally invites me to sleep with her, all while my pregnant wife ran to the bathroom at the restaurant we were all eating dinner at. And despite the fact that this is not the first time this lady's tried to come on to me in the past, I'm now stuck wondering how I'm going to tell my wife about this, because this friend is my wife's best friend in the whole wide world, and I'm worried that I'm about to ruin this entire friendship. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, where you can quickly find out just how toxic some people's friends are, because the friend in this story tries to ruin an entire marriage by literally trying to sleep with the original poster. So yeah, strap in for this one. It is creepy, it's weird, but it's also some juicy drama. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already. Click the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video, and please enjoy it because this first story is definitely a fun one. Let's get started. Okay, so this evening I went out with my wife, two of her friends, and one of our couple friends for dinner. My wife is almost 5 months pregnant with our twin daughters. I'm insanely happy in our marriage and I absolutely adore her with all of my heart. I'm aware of the fact that she has a group chat with some of her close friends where they maybe share some intimate things in our marriage. In fact, she's made some jokes about things some of her friends have said in the past. One of her older friends in particular has made jokes and has been maybe a little overly playful about me, and I've kind of noticed that she wasn't always joking. I caught a bad vibe from her from the times that I've met her, and she would literally ask me super candid questions that were maybe not appropriate to ask a friend's spouse. When I told my wife about these things, she said she thought that her friend was just joking and thought it was funny, but I was 99% sure that she wasn't. Anyways, tonight at dinner, my wife and the other friend left to go to the bathroom before the food arrived, and the couple was at the far end of the table, and this problem lady was sitting next to me on my right on the opposite end. As soon as they walked away, she touched my arm and said something along the lines of, "Hey, I know you and your wife have a lot going on right now, and I know it's a lot. If you ever need to talk about anything, I'm always here, and I'll always keep it between us." Now, I've got to be honest, it wasn't what she said, but the way she said it, and it was very clear what she meant. I work in sales leadership, and I read people for a living, and there was no misunderstanding about what she meant. And she's also made several comments towards me before, and after I very directly dismissed it, she implied very suggestively that it was a standing offer, and that's when I was very certain she meant something very different. The point is, I want to address this with my wife. I want to do it the right way. I know she won't be upset with me, but my biggest concern is that she will be dismissive at first and think it wasn't legitimate. She's also only been in the United States for about 4 years, and she also moved in here from Sweden. And this girl in particular is one of her first friends she ever made, and she has really struggled to make friends for a little bit. I just want to be straight up about this without hurting her too much. So how do I handle this conversation the right way? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, before I go any further, the original poster has an update to this story. Here's what they had to say. Okay, so I sat down and I talked to my wife about it this morning, and I just told her everything directly and straight up while offering her assurance. And honestly, she's handled it very well, but I think she's still processing some stuff. She also admitted that one of her friends told her in confidence that she may have said some not so nice things about her and made several comments about me in conversations with other friends, so she was already kind of suspicious of what's going on. The other thing my wife picked up on that I actually didn't is that we were sitting in a large partitioned U-shaped outdoor cabana booth kind of thing that can probably fit like 10 to 12 people easily. My wife was sitting to my left and she sat directly to my right at the very end of the booth, you know, instead of sitting next to her or our other friends where there was a ton of open space. So she picked up on that as well, and she definitely didn't like that. We're working on how to handle it, but I think the best course of action is that I just straight up message this girl, tell her that I didn't appreciate that, and that I told my wife. She will have to figure out how to address that with her friend group, but she basically said that she can just get lost. So I'm really proud of her for handling that in stride, because honestly, this entire situation was really sketchy, and I'm glad we got it resolved. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm so glad you took care of this. This is not one of those situations where it's like, oh, maybe it's fine. I'm sure this lady didn't mean to hit on me and say that she wanted to sleep with me without really saying it. Like, bro, if this happened to me, the first person I'd be talking to is my girlfriend. I'd go to her and be like, can you believe what this lady just did to me? She basically came on to me and said, oh, I'll keep it between us. Which, by the way, anytime someone says that, that's a total lie. Because why would you say that in the first place? Like, I didn't suspect you of spreading rumors or telling my secrets before, but now that you've said that, I definitely don't trust you now. So it's almost like showing your hand before you even play it. Like, it's so stupid. But yeah, in case you're wondering, this is unbelievably toxic. For this lady to do this, literally while the wife in the story is 5 months pregnant, like, that is crazy, dude. You're trying to wreck somebody's home. And while they're all at dinner at that. So yeah, I think you made the right choice by telling this lady to go kick rocks, because cutting the head off the snake in this situation early is way better than waiting until it's too late. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Today, I need to confess that I've been living a lie, as I've been pretending to be a networking genius for years, literally by just unplugging the router and hoping it fixes itself. Because right now, my wife is convinced I'm an expert at something I have no idea how to operate. And this lie has literally gotten to a point where I just don't know what to do anymore. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so my wife thinks that I'm some kind of like IT wizard because every time our home internet starts acting up, I manage to fix it in like 20 minutes. She sees me sitting there in front of my laptop with a command prompt window open, typing in random stuff, and looking super stressed while I complain about the ISP routing tables or packet loss at the local node. But the reality is that I'm just a fraud, and I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to actual network administration. Whenever the Wi-Fi gets slow or the connection drops, I just wait for her to notice and then jump into fix-it mode. I open up the terminal and I type random things into the directory commands that honestly just look technical to someone who doesn't know any better. While she's in the other room, I just walk over to the hallway and I pull the power plug out of the router, I wait 30 seconds and then I plug it back in. Then I sit back down at my desk and I keep typing for like maybe another 10 minutes just to really make it look like a complex handshake is happening with the provider. I started doing this early in our relationship because I wanted to impress her, and now it's gone way too far. In fact, last week, she told her brother that he should bring his busted gaming setup over so that I could optimize it and fix his lag issues. So I had to make up some lie about my specific software license being tied to our home IP address just to get out of it. I'm honestly terrified that one day we will have a real hardware failure and she will watch me fail to fix it while I desperately type help into the console. But for now, I'm just sticking to the script and praying that a simple reboot continues to solve all of our problems. Because if something actually goes wrong, then man, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. Okay, I love this because, dude, this is one of those situations where it's like, yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound. Holy crap, you are in deep for this, my dude. And trust me, I totally get it. You're trying to impress a lady and you're like, hey, check out these hacking skills. You open up a command prompt and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to town. I might as well be in the Matrix, baby. I'm hacking the mainframe. Ain't nobody's gonna get past me. And sure, your wife probably finds this charming, but yeah, you've lived a complete lie pretty much the entirety of your marriage. And the part about her being like, oh yeah, bring your gaming setup over. My husband will take care of it. Like, that would make me panic. That makes me like want to start sweating just thinking about it. Because dude, you don't know what you're doing. You have no idea what you're doing. This is all just complete random and you're making it up. So I think the only solution is maybe investing some time into actually becoming an IT wizard to some extent. That way you can at least be like, okay, I know some things. Like, I have an idea of how to fix things, but I'm not some expert. Like, that way if something really does go wrong, you're like, hey, actually I might know how to fix this. And then this supposed like double life becomes like your reality. And it's like, oh wait, I do know what I'm doing. Because my God, this is not something you want to lie about. And definitely please stop bringing up the console commands. You're not doing anything there. It looks stupid and there's honestly no reason to do that. But seriously, this is hilarious to me and I love that you've gotten away with it for as long as you have. Am I the jerk for lying to my parents about double majoring in college when they were paying for my tuition? Because after they found out that I had been lying, they're now literally giving me the silent treatment and really being weird. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so I'm 1 month out from graduating with a major in business and a minor in computer science. But my parents found out that I've been lying about double majoring for almost a year. Ever since I started college, my mom has had very rigid expectations about what I should major in and what career I should have post-graduation, which has created a lot of conflict between us. At first, I went along with it, taking both business and computer science classes because I figured the headache of arguing just wasn't worth it, and it seemed possible at the time. Well, I had a medical emergency in my junior year that sent me to the emergency room and caused me to miss an exam. And so I ended up withdrawing from that class, which was a computer science requirement. It was always going to be a tight squeeze to graduate on time, and this setback made it mathematically impossible for me to graduate on time, given the school's per semester credit limit. In fact, now that I'm recalculating, I don't think double majoring was ever possible in the first place, even if I played all my cards right from the second I stepped foot on campus. But I sadly just wasn't thinking that far when I first agreed to it. Seeing no future where I could realistically finish a double major, plus the fact that my heart was never really in computer science to begin with, I had a conversation with my mom about turning computer science into a minor instead and majoring only in business. For what it's worth, this wasn't me trying to take the easy way out. I had a 4.0 on all of my computer science classes, but I still lean more towards the business route and already had internships and now a job offer in this field. However, she was not receptive to this at all and insisted that I go through with both majors. There were some heated arguments which devolved into her saying how much of a waste of tuition I was, how I was an epic disappointment, how I was not living up to my potential, and all this other stuff. In the end, she refused to accept a compromise where I turned computer science into a minor. Seeing no resolution, I ended up lying and telling her that I was majoring in both. I kept the lie going for almost a year, making up computer science classes that I was taking, and I've always excelled in school, so they never really bothered to check until now. Well, my mom is beyond pissed off and refuses to talk to me ever since she found out. I feel bad about my choice to lie and understand why she feels betrayed and angry. I also admit that having my parents pay my tuition means that they have some say in my education, but I also feel as though they didn't leave me many good options. So am I the jerk for lying about my major in college when my parents are paying my tuition, even though their demands were impossible to meet and they refused to compromise? Because I really just don't know what to make of this. Okay, your parents are being way too strict about this. This is so weird. Because, dude, what are you talking about? You literally had to go to the emergency room and withdraw from a class. Unless they're like willing to pay for summer school, then it just doesn't seem like this is ever gonna get done. You literally don't have the time to finish all the requirements necessary to get the degree. Like, in my opinion, a computer science minor is like the only option. So for your mom to be like, wow, I'm never gonna talk to you again, and somehow giving you the cold shoulder, like, that is so immature and weird. Like, grow up, come on, look at reason for once. It's not like your kid's not doing incredible at college. Like, they've got a 4.0, like, come on. Plus, they're already graduated, like, give it a break, man. So no, you're not the jerk for lying to your parents. It sounds like that was probably the only way you could finish on time, but the way they're reacting to you, like not telling the truth, seems a bit overblown and really unnecessary because you don't deserve this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for refusing to leave my room early for the new roommate that was taking my spot? Because it was literally sprung on me at the last second that she's coming down early to try and get settled in while I'm still living here, putting me in a situation I didn't agree with, so I simply resisted and said no, which really makes me wonder if I'm in the wrong. Here's basically how it happened. I'm a 26-year-old female and I lived in a duplex with 3 other female roommates. We lived on the lower level and the owners of the house lived on the 2nd floor. I lived there for about a year and then I decided to move into a townhouse with another friend. I gave the owners plenty of notice that I intended to move out at the beginning of August. Well, at about June, the roommate, who I will call Erica, who had been living in the duplex the longest and acted as the liaison between our unit and the owners, asked if I could move out in the middle of July. A recent college graduate who the homeowners knew was planning to move into the area. Apparently she got a job at our city and she needed to start her new job in July. And essentially she was going to be taking my spot in the duplex. I looked into the situation and it worked out for me to move out mid-July, so I agreed and I thought all the plans were set. Well, at the end of June, Erica told me that the new girl was coming down early to get settled into her new room, all before she began her new job. This meant, according to Erica, that I needed to move all of my things out of my room as soon as possible, just so that this new girl could move in. The problem was that I couldn't move into my new place for a couple of weeks. Like, I'm not quite sure how it was decided the new girl would come down early, but no one asked me at all. I was just told that it was happening all of a sudden. They said I could put all my stuff in the dining room, which is a large room, and still sleep on the couch at the house. And I thought about it for a little bit and I said I wouldn't be moving out early. I would move out in mid-July as I agreed. Well, as it was described, the new girl came down early anyways and slept on the couch in Erica's bedroom. Okay, narrator stepping in real quick. Here's the part that really pisses me off. Check this out. Erica then told me that I was being selfish and that I should have moved out for the new girl and that she is wasting her time by coming down early and not getting her room set up. She also said that we have to look out for each other and that she is inconvenienced by having the girl sleeping on her couch. But I responded that it is a different thing sharing a room versus completely displacing myself. Plus, it would have made more sense to ask me if I could like vacate my room in early July, you know, before anyone told the new girl that she should come down. But honestly, with all things considered, am I really the jerk for refusing to leave the room early? Because I'm kind of questioning it and I'm not really sure if I'm in the wrong. Okay, dude, your roommate sucks. Erica is an idiot. I'll say that as confidently as I can. Seriously, you agreed to a specific timeline. In fact, you gave them several months of like, hey, I'm gonna move out in August. Please be ready for that because I'm out of here. And you even agreed to move out in the middle of July, dude. So for them to be like, you need to move out earlier. Yes, you're gonna have to sleep on a couch and yes, your crap's gonna be all over the dining room. Too bad, so sad. And if you don't do that, I'm gonna call you selfish and say that we need to look out for each other. Which is seriously hilarious that Erica's trying to say that because it's like, okay, you're clearly not looking out for the original poster. Like you're just sitting there being like, oh yeah, you can sleep in like, I don't know, the floor or whatever. Like, bro, what are we talking about? I didn't agree to any of this. And you can't just drop it on me at the last second and think I'm gonna be okay with it. Like, screw this new roommate, I'm still your roommate. So no, I'm not gonna move out early. Like, what a stupid thing to do. This honestly makes no sense, and it's definitely not your fault. So no, screw Erica. She's an idiot, and you did not owe her anything. And I think if anybody's selfish here, it's literally whoever said that this new roommate could come down early. Because this obviously would have displaced you in a way that's really unfair. And I really just don't think you had any obligation to follow through with any of these stupid demands. My husband is literally skeptical of our kid having a medical emergency, claiming that she was faking it and probably doing it out of attention instead of something actually happening. And now I honestly want to divorce him, and I'm wondering if I might be overreacting here, because I'm still pissed off about this and I really just don't know what to do. Okay, so last night after dinner, my 10-year-old and I were watching a movie and she was laying down on the couch. She then stood up, stretched, and then immediately fell forward onto the glass coffee table. She hit her head and then fell onto the bottom tier of the glass table and hit her head again, and it all happened so fast. Her body was limp and I picked her up, and she came to almost immediately. She had clearly fainted and I was terrified. Not only did she faint out of nowhere, she hit her head twice on a metal and glass table. When she came to, she was immediately confused and started crying. I called my husband in from outside where he was watering the lawn, and I told him we needed to take her to the hospital. But he then starts Googling and saying, it's common, this is not an emergency. Meanwhile, my daughter's still crying and shaken up, and truthfully, she's scared about going to the hospital for the first time. I then tell him I'm going anyways, but it's here that he says that he has some things to do outside, so I just put her in my car and have him follow after. He then gets there about half an hour after us. Now, the emergency room was disappointing. We spent 3 hours there and they weren't able to tell us anything, just that she likely didn't have a concussion and that her EKG was okay and she was not dehydrated. I want to take her to an urgent care today because they did no labs, and I also don't think that a 10-year-old faints out of nowhere. Well, this morning, I'm still crying thinking about how her body just went limp and gave out on her and just how scary it was. I can't stop thinking about it and I'm so worried. Well, my husband then asked me, do you think that she was faking it or making a joke? He then explained that he did something like that at around her age. And when he said that, I just lost it. I told him if he felt that way, then he could just leave my home. I told him he can't be skeptical of our child that way and that I'm taking her for additional medical care without him. I want to divorce him, quite frankly, and never see him again. Last night when we were driving to the hospital, my daughter commented through tears, why didn't he just leave the lawn and come with us? This was an emergency. And at this point, he's not talking to me, and now I really hate him. So am I overreacting here because I don't know what to do anymore? Holy crap, your husband's a terrible father. He is literally trying to look at his kid and be like, oh, she's faking it. I did the same thing at her age. She's just making it up. Meanwhile, the kid's freaking out and crying and their head hurts. And the original poster literally watched it all happen. Like, what are we talking about? What a completely rude thing to say. Like, why would you sit there and be like, oh yeah, she's faking it. I don't believe your medical emergency. Because I don't know, after hearing that your kid passed out after hitting their head, your first reaction shouldn't be, oh, but are you sure? I think you're just like making it up. You're just looking for attention, right? Like, no, the right thing to do is to go to the hospital and see what's going on. I would rather be safe than sorry. Holy crap. And you know what? I kind of understand where you're coming from, where it's like, oh yeah, I want to divorce this guy. Because bro, I bet this is like the tip of the iceberg. I bet this guy's insufferable and we're only seeing this one example. So yeah, I don't think you're overreacting. I don't blame you for feeling that way, because his reaction to his kid just passing out is unbelievably unkind, as he literally should have taken this seriously and been with you guys on the trip to the hospital. Today, I realized I made a mistake by offering my neighbor a ride one time to the airport, because now she thinks I'm her personal Uber, as she's constantly asking for rides all the time, putting me in a situation that I absolutely hate, and I seriously just don't know what to do from here. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, I get it. This is gonna sound really petty, but I need to get it off my chest. About 4 months ago, my neighbor, who I will call Diane for the sake of the story, mentioned that she had an early flight and didn't want to pay for parking. Now, I was off that day anyways, and the airport's like 25 minutes away from us, so I just offered her a ride. It's honestly no big deal, but apparently that was a massive mistake. Ever since then, she's asked me for a ride 7 times. Yeah, you got that right, 7! Not all at the airport. Sometimes it's, oh, can you drop me off at the mall? My car's in the shop. Or she would say, hey, I have a doctor's appointment downtown. Could you swing by? And every single time she frames it like it's barely an inconvenience. Like, oh, it'll only take you like 20 minutes. As if my free time has no value because I work from home. Last Tuesday, she knocks on my door at 8 o'clock o'clock in the morning and actually asked me if I can drive her to pick her car up from the mechanic, which, hey, by the way, it's 40 minutes away. I then said to her, hey, I actually have some calls this morning, which is true. And she then goes to me, oh, it won't take that long. You can do your calls afterwards. And honestly, I just kind of stared at her. When I said no, she then got this tone and said, I thought neighbors were supposed to help each other, which is like, okay, sure, but I helped her once and now it somehow is a standing agreement. Like, what are we talking about? Now, the thing that really got me is she mentioned to another neighbor that I've been less friendly lately. Not that she's been asking way too much, but apparently I'm the one that's changed. I should also note that she has a perfectly working car 90% of the time and has never once offered anything in return. Not even a, oh, let me just buy you some coffee. Literally nothing. I've started pretending I'm not home when she knocks because honestly at this point, I just can't do it anymore. Oh my God, this makes my skin crawl. I don't know about anyone else, but dude, I can't stand people who take advantage of you like this. You do one small favor for them and then suddenly, yeah, they think it's a standing agreement. They think that, yeah, you're gonna give me a ride. It was so easy the first time. That means the next 6 times will be no problem as well, right? And it's like, no, dude, I have other things going on, like work and, oh, I don't know, paying my rent. You can't expect me to drop everything I'm doing and just do anything you want all the time. That's unreasonable, dude. I've got a life to live. If she really needs to get there, then either plan your day better or call anybody else for a ride. I'm not a free Uber. I'm not a taxi. You can't just pound on my door and be like, I need a ride right now. We're neighbors. We need to look out for each other. And if you don't help me, then I'm gonna say you're less friendly to my neighbors. Like, that's stupid. I would ignore all of that 100%. And if anything, I would probably be just a little bit more blunt with her and be like, I'm not giving you a ride anymore. Because clearly she's not getting the picture, and I think it probably is only gonna get worse before it gets even close to getting better. My girlfriend's demanding that if I move in, then I need to keep my PC out of the house, as she's demanding that I literally give up gaming in general if I want to live with her, putting me in a situation where I really just don't know how to handle this and I don't know how to find any kind of middle ground, because right now my girlfriend's refusing to budge and she's refusing to listen, and I really just don't know what to do. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where you can see exactly how bad some girlfriends can be, because this first story literally has a girlfriend who's demanding the original poster give up gaming. It is some crazy behavior, and I think you're going to like this first one. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. All right, let's jump right into it. Okay, so we've been together for 3 years, and right now we both have our own apartments because of work. I'm on one side of town, she's on the other, and we both get off late, so it's kind of worked out. Recently, I got another job offer. It's the same position, but higher pay on her side of town. And you know what? We were both really happy because it means we can spend more time together. She also has a bigger place, so we started planning for me to move in. Now, the issue is that she has one strict rule. I can't bring my computer. And when I heard this, that really caught me off guard. Gaming is something I do a few times a week, usually like 1 to 3 hours just to relax, especially since I'm a full-time firefighter and the job can be really stressful. It's not something I do all day, and we already spend a lot of time together, maybe around like 7 hours most days. Now, I've tried to talk to her about it and find some kind of middle ground, and I even asked if it was about how it looks, and she said kind of yes. I offered to keep it out of sight or even set it up in a closet if that's what it takes, but she still doesn't want it in the apartment at all. I straight up told her it's important to me and it helps me unwind, but she said it's not coming into the house, and that's where I started feeling dismissed, especially since I feel like I've been flexible with the move overall. So am I overreacting here? Or is it maybe time for me to put it away because I really don't know what to do here? Okay, dude, this is a red flag that I would never ignore. Are you kidding me right now? Because this is some crazy controlling behavior. Dude, if we're gonna move in together, you need to accept that I sometimes need to play video games just to unwind. My computer's a big part of my life just for like work and other stuff, but I also use it to spend time with friends and unwind just like the original poster, and to play video games and literally anything else. So for her to be like, I don't even want to see it in the house. Like, dude, that's a giant red flag. I would probably be like, okay, we should not live together then, because I am not about to give up my gaming PC just because you don't want to look at it. Like, I'm sorry, that's not gonna happen. I use it for way more than gaming, and I need it in my life, so sorry, but we're not moving in together. So no, you're not overreacting. I think you're reacting appropriately by being like, is there any kind of middle ground? Like, this shouldn't be some hard boundary for her where she's like, you can't have it in the house at all. Like, seriously, just because you're moving in together doesn't mean you have to like give up all of your hobbies and be like, okay, I won't ever game again. That is very unreasonable in my opinion, and I just don't think that's fair in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. My coworker won't stop trauma dumping on me, as every morning she's constantly telling me about the death of her family and all this awful stuff. And after putting up with this for 3 weeks after she just got hired, and now I really don't know how to handle this or how to tell her to stop. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so I have a new coworker who's been here for maybe about 3 weeks. For the sake of the story, we'll call her Kate, and she's maybe about 10 years older than me, if that. Now, for reference, I just recently had an autism tone-based miscommunication with another coworker, so I really want to know if I'll be out of line for this one. I work the night shift at a hotel, working at the front desk, and Kate was hired to work breakfast. The first day that I met her, the usual breakfast person sent me a text ahead of time saying that she would be late and if I could please just show Kate around the kitchen while we wait. Now, I'm cross-trained on breakfast for emergencies, so when Kate arrived, I introduced myself, I told her the situation, and I started showing her the equipment. I had spoken to this woman for maybe 2 minutes in total, and then out of nowhere, she just completely unprompted told me about the deaths of her husband and child. I was completely caught off guard, and I had nothing really to say aside from, oh my god, I'm so sorry, that's awful. She then continued to tell me more details about her losses when the usual breakfast person finally arrived, meaning that my autistic self can finally escape the situation. As breakfast overlaps with the last couple of hours of night shift, I've seen Kate many times ever since then, and every single time she opens up with telling me everything that's ever gone wrong in her life. First, it's recent grievances, then she'll get into even deeper trauma if I let her continue talking. And it's honestly exhausting. There was one day when I was asked to help out with the laundry, and I deliberately left it for late in my shift so I could essentially hide in the laundry room and make myself unavailable. But I'm not kidding when I say this. Twice now, Kate has tracked me down in there, first to complain that she had to make scrambled eggs instead of fried, and second to give me a play-by-play of how she was almost late because her alarm didn't go off. But thankfully her roommate has such a loud alarm that it woke her up anyways. Now, yesterday was particularly frustrating. I have a brand new tattoo and it's still healing. It's brightly colored, it's large, and very visible on my arm. Kate noticed it right away and asked me, oh, is that a new tattoo? And I excitedly started to say, yeah, it's for my D&D character. But right as I started to explain this to her, she cut me off and was like, well, you don't need to guess the meaning of my tattoo. And then she shows me a semicolon and proceeds to tell me about the deaths within her family for probably like the 6th time in total. Now, I was not able to escape quickly, and somehow we managed to also get on the recent expiration of some old felony misdemeanor charges she had, and how she can't apply for another job because of it. I have literally never heard Kate say one single word to me that wasn't either a complaint or a trauma dump, and I'm honestly so tired. And also remember, I don't know this woman. I want to tell her to stop and phrase it like, hey Kate, I'm truly sorry that you've had so much tragedy in your life, but I do not have the tools to help you through it, and we don't have that kind of relationship. You should really talk to a therapist about it and not me. So seriously, with all things considered, would I be the jerk if I said that? Like, would it be out of line for me to be like, please leave me alone? Because right now, Kate's driving me crazy and I don't know what to do with her. Okay, first off, honestly, I think you should take this as a compliment because there's a very high likelihood that you're just one of those people where they look at you and they're like, oh yeah, I can open up to this person. They're cheaper than therapy. I'm gonna trauma dump on them. And then it's like, dude, I don't know what's happening. I'm literally at the tail end of my shift and I've heard about the death of your family like 5 times now. Please leave me alone. This is too sad. And also, I don't want to hear it. Like, dude, I don't know how to help you. And I gotta be honest, like, that's really funny to me. I know it sucks and you're like, man, I'm going through it. I don't know how to help this lady. But she clearly trusts you. And I think if anything, take that as a silver lining that, yeah, you have a trustworthy look. But that doesn't mean you have to like deal with this, dude. I think the way you're trying to phrase it is really kind. And I think it absolutely would be completely appropriate to like set her aside and say, hey, I really am sorry you're going through a lot, but like, I can't deal with this. I can only handle so much baggage, dude. I don't know how to help you. Please get it figured out. And also do that without me involved. And then just kind of see where it goes from there. Like, I think that's completely understandable and totally normal. I mean, is there a chance that Kate freaks out and she is like, wow, I can't believe you did that. I'm just trying to open up and find friends and you're just like not wanting to hear me. And if that happens, I would be like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I'm sorry, I guess. I'm sorry that you feel the need to trauma dump on me at, oh, what's that? Yeah, that 6 in the morning. Oh, sorry, no, it's 5 in the morning. Please stop. It's too early for this. So yeah, just be prepared for that to possibly happen and maybe talk to your manager if this goes south because like, I don't know. Some people nowadays use their trauma and like past grievances as a way of like gaining clout points and like, oh yeah, I've had such a hard life, as if that's supposed to like impress people, but in reality, it just kind of makes things really weird really fast. And from the sounds of it, it kind of seems like Kate is one of these people, and that's super obnoxious. Am I the jerk for breaking up with my girlfriend of 5 years, as I literally just don't see our futures aligning in any way, shape, or form? Because right now it's really complicated and I'm just not sure if I made a mistake or not. Here's what's currently going on, and yes, things are about to get a little bit messy. Okay, for a bit of backstory, we started dating back in high school. When we were seniors in early 2023, she broke up with me and has never given a clear answer as to why. And holy crap, words cannot express how devastated I was. It was the most agonizing few months of my life, to the point where I almost did something permanent, if you know what I mean. Now, my girlfriend, who I will call Jane for the sake of the story, started hanging out with this boy who I will call Cameron. It absolutely destroyed me to see her always talking to Cameron in between classes, and Jane knew it. That spring break, we had a class trip with my high school planned to go to Disney World in Florida. During that trip, Jane asked to sit with me on the plane, and the rest is honestly history. And by the time we were on the plane back, we were basically back together. One of her conditions for us getting back together, though, was that I had to start going to therapy, and I did exactly that. And I still go to therapy to this day. Fast forward a year, and in 2024, Jane broke up with me again. By this point, we're freshmen in college, and when she broke up with me this time, it was devastating. But I eventually started to pick myself up after a couple of months. By around March or April, I got on Tinder and I matched with a girl who I will call Mary. When Jane found out that I was talking to Mary, she went on a date with Cameron. And when she told me about it, she said she did it because she knew it would hurt me. Eventually, Jane asked me to be hers again, and I was relieved, but also hesitant. I mean, I had already started processing the breakup and was starting to move on. So I told Jane that in order for us to get back together, she should start going to therapy as well. And while she eventually went for a couple of sessions, she didn't really stick with it. Now, all of this really came to a head on the 26th. Jane was looking at some old Reddit posts on my other account and found a couple where I talked about wanting to break up with her from last summer. The story behind that one was that she had basically asked me trap questions, and it made me wonder if this was a relationship I wanted to be in. And Jane was pissed off at me that I was airing out our personal lives. I still don't understand the anger, but I respected that it upset her. To try and cheer her up, I took her out and did some retail therapy with her, and then I took her to get boba. But when we were getting boba, I noticed just how much I wasn't scared of her breaking up with me. When I tucked her in that night, and yes, I would tuck her in all the time, I asked her what she wanted for the future. She told me, "I don't care as long as I'm with you though." And ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted a family of my own. I also want to stay in my hometown. But Jane, on the other hand, is from the other side of the United States and has told me before that she wants to leave someday. She has also told me that she wants to travel the world. And I know we want different things, but she also told me that she is terrified of being pregnant. I then told her that I really feel like our futures don't align, and I could see in her face that she realized what was going to happen. She brought up adoption and surrogacy, and while I really think those are great, I specifically wanted a kid with her, a biological kid that was part of me and part of her. I also told her that I don't think I could leave my hometown. I mean, I just recently got offered a position that could lead to ownership of a local sound company. She offered to just have a baby with me, but I told her I wouldn't do that to her. I told her that I know she doesn't want to be pregnant, and I understand. She has said before that she doesn't want to permanently deform her body for a child, and I told her that I know we want different things, and I think that no matter what we do, one of us will end up resenting the other. Well, until about 5 o'clock in the morning, we were talking about it and what it would mean for us, but I stayed firm in wanting to break up. Well, when she came to give me my stuff, she tried to guilt trip me a little bit. She said to me, "So if the next girl you date isn't willing to permanently deform their body to have your kid, are you just gonna throw that one away too?" She also brought up, well, what if my next girlfriend couldn't have kids? But I told her if that was the case, then we could look into surrogacy or adoption. She then asked why I wouldn't do that with her, and I told her because I'm not convinced that it's actually what she wants in life. I said to her, well, because if you're not willing to be pregnant for that kid, then what else wouldn't you do? And yes, I know that was a messed up thing to say, and I do regret saying that. Well, I asked her inside, and one thing led to another, and we started making out. She then asked me to tuck her into bed, so I went in with her into her apartment. She asked me to snuggle, and I did snuggle with her, and when it started getting a little spicy, if you know what I mean, I told her that we simply couldn't do that. She then started crying again, and I did everything I could to comfort her. So honestly, am I the jerk here? Am I really the jerk for breaking up with her and moving on with my life? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, dude, I think if you're gonna break up with this lady, you need to actually break up with her. Like, seriously, make a clean break. This is like, what, the third or fourth time this has happened? And in my opinion, it kind of seems like you still have feelings for her, and you're like, well, I don't know, if you're not gonna get pregnant for my kid, then I can't be with you. But also, let's make out while I'm getting my stuff. Like, I don't know, man. This just seems really fickle and like this weird back and forth, and it's like, dude, if you don't want to be with her, then break up with her. Make a clean break and move on with your life. Because you said it best, dude, you're both going in different directions. And I think it would probably be better to just be like, okay, we're done, I'm moving on, and have a good life. Because otherwise, this is just going to repeat again and again, and it's just going to keep going on, and both of you are going to stay miserable. Am I the jerk for not wanting to make music for free for a friend who was requesting it? Because they literally complained that they shouldn't have to pay me and that I should just give it to them for free because we've been friends for a while. But after I said no, they blocked me, and I'm now reflecting on this situation and I'm wondering if I was the problem or not. Here's what happened. Okay, so I was sitting on my couch today when I stumbled upon some old screenshots of a text chat from 2 years ago. It was with someone I used to be friends with but no longer keep in touch with, yet I still have our chat saved. Here's basically what happened. Back then, I was getting into making music, and my friend was interested in trying his hand at creating videos. However, he quickly lost interest in doing so after just a few attempts. I used to share my music with my friends for their feedback and reactions, as it would help make me a little bit better. But one day, my friend asked me to create a song for him for free, to which I declined as I didn't want to do it without compensation. I found the idea of working for free unappealing, especially since I made good music actively. He seemed disappointed by the fact that I was not interested, especially considering our 3-year friendship. He questioned my decision, to which I simply replied that I didn't see the reason to do it for free. He continued to complain about it, talking about unfairness and cost issues. Well, after a couple of days, he offered to pay me $5 for the music. I considered his offer, but felt that $15 would be more reasonable of a price. However, he argued that it wasn't worth paying that amount since I wasn't a well-known artist, and later just blocked me because of it. So am I really the jerk here for not wanting to make the music for free for this friend? Because I really just don't know what to make of this. No, you're not the jerk, your friend's an idiot. It takes so much time to make good music, and if you're making music that's actually legitimately enjoyable to listen to, then yeah, you should be paid way more than just $5. Even $15 is way too low. Dude, you're selling yourself short. So the fact that your friend no longer wanted to be your friend because you didn't work for free for him, that's super toxic, and you really just don't need people like that in your life. I've lost over 81 pounds and my partner is pretending like he doesn't even notice, as instead he's still insulting my weight and essentially calling me fat and disgusting all the time. And I'm now at a point where I'm really questioning my entire relationship with this guy because this feels so wrong and I just don't know what to do about it. Here's what's currently happening. Okay, so when my partner and I met, I was about 215 pounds, so I was always just a bit bigger. For context, I'm 5 foot 3 inches and I am curvy. In the last couple of years, I've gained weight due to pregnancy. I ended up being 260 pounds this time last year, but I'm now down to 179 and I'm still losing weight. My goal is to get down to about 120 pounds or so, but the high end of healthy for my height is roughly 141 pounds. So relatively speaking, I don't have too far left to go not to be considered overweight. Anyways, he's never really known me this small before, as like I've said, I was bigger when we met, and this is the first time he's ever seen me under 200 pounds since we met 6 years ago. And yet, he still acts like I haven't lost anything. He will make little remarks here and there, which he's toned down some after me talking to him about it, but he still acts as if I haven't lost anything worth noting. His previous comments were things like, "You're always eating," when in fact I'm definitely not. Or he'll say, "You've always just gotta feed your face. You just want to sit on your fat butt all the time." Now, he hasn't said these things ever since I talked to him about how upset I was over it, but it really hurt that he did it at all. Before I started losing weight, he had complained I didn't look as good as I did before I had gotten pregnant, which really hurt to hear, but I resolved to do something about it. And now that he isn't really making those blunt comments anymore, he's more subtle about things that he says. I'll be excited about meeting a milestone, and he'll say things like, "I don't want to say anything, I'll just upset you." And this lets me know that he isn't proud of me and doesn't think I'm doing well without him saying it. Or at least that's how it reads to me. He also says things like, "Well, you're still really big for your height. You think you're skinny, but you're really not." And I just assured him that, yeah, I'm still trying to lose the rest of the weight, and I understand I'm not skinny yet. My fear now is that once I do finish losing the weight, he will move on to insulting me over something else. What if I'm left with just a little bit of loose skin and he puts me down over that? I don't know. I used to feel really good about myself getting down to around 198 pounds. Even at 220 in years previous, I felt like I wasn't so bad looking, but now at 179, I look in the mirror and I just feel so sad. All I see is all the fat that I have left to lose. I've lost all of my confidence in myself that I used to have. I've always been a bigger person, and I've struggled with my weight ever since my childhood. I have polycystic ovary syndrome, and the insulin resistance is difficult to manage, but I'm on medication and trying so hard for this. Anyways, the way that I feel about myself now, I do know that dysmorphia is a common problem in the weight loss community, and it does happen to people, though this is my first time experiencing it this way, and it's making me wonder if his comments are a big factor in that. But am I just assigning blame, or am I reaching? We have a little family, and I would hate to break it over something seemingly small, but I feel so horrible lately about myself. So am I overreacting for reconsidering staying in this relationship? Because right now I really just don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, dude, your boyfriend sucks. He literally is sitting there being like, wow, you're still fat. You're not doing anything. You're always just eating and sitting on your butt. Meanwhile, you've lost so much weight. And like, dude, I don't care who you are. If you lose at least over 50 pounds, you're gonna look a lot different. Like, you're gonna look skinnier and leaner. And overall, people are definitely gonna notice and be like, wait, you lost weight. That's awesome. Congratulations. Or something to that effect. Meanwhile, your partner is sitting there being like, wow, you're still so fat. You're just stuffing your face all the time. And it's like, bro, what in the world is going on? That is so unkind to say. Especially when you've got someone who's like, I don't know, struggling with their weight and really wants to lose weight. Like, that's a terrible thing to say and like shove back at them and be like, oh, you're not doing enough. You're still so fat and overweight and disgusting. And that is like so unacceptable. That really is just unfair overall. So yeah, your partner sucks. And I think if I was in that situation, I would probably also start questioning pretty much everything about that relationship, because this is super toxic and you don't deserve any of this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for confronting a guy at my university who literally took my backpack and moved it off of a seat? Because I gotta be honest, I felt incredibly disrespected and very frustrated over this. But I'm not sure if I crossed the line or if I should probably have just let it go. Here's how it all happened. Okay, so something weird happened today in class, and I'm still trying to figure out if I overreacted or not. Now, for a bit of reference, I usually put my backpack on the chair next to me. The class isn't full since a lot of people dropped it, and there are plenty of open seats everywhere, so it's never been an issue. Well, this guy comes up and asks if the bag is mine, and I thought he was going to just ask me to move it, which I would have done no problem. But instead, after I say yes, he just picks it up himself and throws it onto the desk in front of me. And I gotta be honest, that really pissed me off. So I confronted him and I told him not to touch my stuff, and that next time he just asked me to move it. Well, he responded by saying that if he saw it in his seat again, he would move it again. For context, there are no assigned seats in these classes, and I've been sitting there for weeks without ever seeing this guy before. So I just told him, no, you're not, and that I don't like people touching my stuff. The conversation didn't really end well with both of us in agreement, but I really just couldn't care less. I told him it's about respect, and some people don't like their stuff being touched by people they don't know. Again, there were tons of open seats, so it wasn't like he had no other option. So yeah, am I the jerk here? Because I really don't know what to make of this guy. Bro, you better believe the next time I come into class, I am sitting in his seat. I'm gonna get to class 15 minutes early and line up at the door waiting to get in there, dude. And you better believe I'm gonna steal that seat specifically from here on out for the rest of the semester. Because what is this guy talking about saying, oh, it's my seat? You don't do that in university. That's like some high school crap. That doesn't fly in college, dude. You can't just be like, oh, get out of my seat right now or else. And like physically move people's stuff like that. Like, what are you thinking, dude? You have no business touching anybody's property like that. That is unacceptable and inappropriate. So no, you're not the jerk for confronting this guy. You did the right thing. And if you had any sense about you, like seriously, show up early and take his spot and see what happens. Because I guarantee you this supposed tough guy is gonna fold like a house of cards and you're gonna see how much of a coward he really is. Today, I was practically kicked out of a major chain restaurant after the manager of this restaurant demanded that I prove with paperwork if my service dog was real or not. Because after the fact, I decided to report this guy to corporate, and now I'm pretty convinced he's about to get fired. And I'm not sure if I made a mistake or if I'm out of line for doing that. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, where yes, even if you're a manager at a major chain restaurant, you in fact can still make some of the dumbest decisions possible for your career. Because holy crap, the first story literally shows a manager's entire job just dissolving into thin air after he makes the worst judgment call on planet Earth. Like, strap in for this one. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. And with that, let's get started. To start things off, I have a service dog for a medical condition. He's trained to alert me before severe drops in my blood sugar and to respond if I lose consciousness. I've had episodes before where I passed out without warning and I ended up in the emergency room, so I definitely don't go out in public without him anymore. He's fully trained through a legit program and is extremely well behaved. When we're out, he just tucks under the table and doesn't move. In fact, most people don't even notice him unless they're really looking. So anyways, I went to sit down at a chain restaurant with a friend for lunch. Well, as soon as we got seated, the manager came over and said dogs aren't allowed inside because of health codes. I then tried to explain that he's a service dog and not a pet, and that he's allowed to be there. Well, the manager immediately got defensive. He said to me, "We've had people lie about that before, so unless you can show some paperwork, you're gonna have to leave." leave. I then told him there isn't actually any required paperwork and that under the Americans with Disability Act, they're allowed to only ask 2 questions. He then cut me off and said, "It's store policy, we require proof." And then he tried to claim that I was causing a disturbance. At this point, people around us were staring and I was getting embarrassed. My friend tried backing me up, but the manager said if I didn't remove the dog, we would both have to leave. And so with that, we left because I was getting really upset anyways. And I just grabbed some McDonald's and ate in the car together. But the story doesn't stop there. When I got home, I called corporate and I filed a complaint explaining everything, including the fact that they tried to require documentation and denied access. Now, corporate seemed pretty serious about it and said that they would handle it internally. Well, with all that in mind, I do feel kinda bad now that I might have gotten this manager in a lot of trouble and maybe even fired. And I'm honestly trying to rationalize it. Like maybe he doesn't actually know the policy and was just doing what somebody else had explained to do. But I've never been denied access to a place because of my dog before, and it honestly just felt really unfair. So am I the jerk for getting this guy in trouble and calling corporate? Because right now I'm seriously feeling distressed about this and I don't know if I'm in the wrong. Ooh, baby, this guy's gonna get fired. This is absolutely gonna result in him getting fired. Like, holy crap, this guy is done. First and foremost, the second anyone says, "Oh, I've got a service dog," that's your cue to step back and make sure you do it right, because otherwise you've got a very easy lawsuit you're gonna lose on your hands. Like, my God, literally all these people can ask is, hey, is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? And what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? That's literally straight from the Americans with Disability Act website. They can't ask for paperwork or for you to prove it. They can't be like, "Oh, well, I don't believe you." Like, that is all they can ask. They literally have no rights to your personal or private information otherwise. So the original poster is 100% in the right. They don't have to prove jack diddly squat, and they can't make you leave like that, especially under the pretense of you not proving that your dog's a service animal. Like, bro, you better check yourself here. And also, isn't there some kind of training that goes into being a manager at like a chain restaurant? And I'm not talking about like some small hole-in-the-wall restaurant that mom and dad runs. We're talking a major chain restaurant that all of us have probably been to, and we've all enjoyed their unlimited breadsticks. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Like, dude, you better believe there's training for this. You can't possibly be that stupid. Not to mention, like, borderline discriminatory. Like, oh my God. Just because other people have been like really bad and been like, "Oh yeah, this is a service animal," meanwhile their dog's barking and like crapping everywhere, doesn't mean that you have to punish people who actually do have service dogs. So no, to the original poster, holy crap, you are not in the wrong. You did the right thing by calling corporate and reporting this loser. In fact, if I was in your shoes, I would be calling them back to follow up on this issue. And maybe even going back to that restaurant and being like, "Do we want to try this again? Because I'm going to try this again, and I really hope you have the right questions in mind for me and not make me have to call corporate again, because this is unacceptable. Like, this behavior really is not okay. This is how people get sued and lose very badly." So no, you're not the jerk. You didn't do anything wrong, and I know if I was in your shoes, I think I would do the exact same thing. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. My supervisor repeatedly keeps singling me out for being pregnant, as he's constantly making jokes about it and really just putting me down. So I escalated to human resources, essentially complaining that this guy won't leave me alone. And now I'm kind of wondering if I made a mistake by doing that, because my supervisor is being really cold towards me and some of my other coworkers are saying that I did this wrong. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, I'm 8 months pregnant and I work in an office job that's generally pretty fast paced, but it is manageable for me so far. And just so everybody's aware, I've worked here for 5 years. Over the past couple of months, I've had ongoing issues with my direct supervisor. Since I announced my pregnancy, he's made repeated comments about my body and symptoms. Things like pointing out when I look slower than usual, making jokes about how often I need breaks, and commenting in front of others when I step away from my desk. It's been happening for months now, and not just once or twice. I also had a situation earlier on where he ignored human resources guidance and just kept assigning me tasks that I'd already been cleared from due to pregnancy accommodations. I literally had to loop human resources in at that point just to correct it, so they were already contacted once about this guy. Most recently, it escalated again during team meetings, where he would call attention to me standing out to use the bathroom, sometimes just laughing it off or letting others react. It's gone to the point where I feel singled out in front of my entire team. Well, after this, I reported him to HR. I didn't ask for anything at all, I just wanted it documented and for it to stop. And now things feel really really tense at work. My supervisor has become noticeably cold towards me. He barely talks to me when I speak to him about work. In fact, a couple of coworkers told me that I shouldn't have gone to human resources, and that he was apparently just trying to be friendly and this was his way of joking. I really feel like I tried addressing it directly multiple times before going that route, but now I'm kind of second guessing myself because of the reaction at work from both people, and I'm now kind of afraid for my job when I come back from having this baby. So did I do this wrong? Like, did I overreact by escalating in the way that I did? Because right now I feel like I ruined my entire job. No, you didn't do anything wrong. This guy's being weird. Seriously, like, yeah, of course, you're pregnant. You're 8 months pregnant. You're probably showing very obviously that you're pregnant. So for this guy to be obsessed over it and be like, wow, look at the pregnant lady going to the bathroom again, or like laughing at you and just making you a public mockery, like, no, that's creating a hostile work environment, dude. I'm not gonna put up with that. You're literally on the verge of giving birth, and this guy, in my opinion, is really mistreating you. So no, you're not doing anything wrong. This guy's an idiot for treating you this way, and he's probably only acting cold towards you because he feels really dumb and he probably got chewed out by human resources in a way he's probably not going to forget. Which is great because hopefully he won't do that again and you can go back to just doing your job. My mother-in-law makes some terrible comments about my body right after I gave birth to my son. So I demanded that she leave my house and not be around my kids for a while, resulting in my husband essentially leaving my family. And now after a month, I haven't heard anything from him and I'm kind of wondering what to do. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so this is a throwaway account for obvious reasons because I really just don't know what to do here. For starters, I'm a 30-year-old female and I had my second child around 2 months ago, and I'll try to summarize what happened as best as I can. Back when the baby was born, my mother-in-law said this exact words: "You have pimples on your face, honey, you look too tired. When I was your age, I was looking my best." But it's like, of course, after 3 hours of pushing, it would probably make anyone look rough around the edges. Fast forward, and then when my son was born, after around 1 month, we allowed the family to come around to meet him in person for the first time. She asked when she could babysit, and I said that we will wait some time like we did with the first child, and kind of see where this leads us. When I said that, she replied by saying, "You should hand him over to me and just go to the gym, honey. After a month, you still look like a whale." And after that, I told all of them to leave. My husband didn't even back me up, but instead got mad at me for hurting his mom. After that, his parents called my husband and asked to come over to talk about what happened. And even his siblings came over with them. And we had a super uncomfortable conversation that was basically them saying that I could not be a stable mother if I reacted to my mother-in-law's innocent concern in this way. And maybe I should give my 2 sons to them so that I can have a break. This situation then led to a huge argument between me and my husband, where he said I couldn't keep his family away from our kids, that he has rights and I couldn't do this. Well, after I refused, he packed a bag and left for his parents. A month has literally passed and he has not called or seen his children ever since then. So am I the jerk for the way I'm keeping my kids from them? Because honestly, right now, this has spiraled out of control and I don't know what to do. Okay, I need to say real quick that if you're gonna say nasty things to people, you cannot expect to be able to stay around them. So when the mother-in-law comes into the original poster's house and is like, "Wow, you look like a whale. You should go to the gym. You're so fat. You look tired and you got pimples on your face. I was looking way better when I was your age." And it's like, dude, not only did the original poster literally just have a kid, but they're also just recovering from having the child. Like, why does she think she can say these nasty things and then still try to act like the victim when she's told to get lost? Because this is not some innocent concern. This is her being a straight up jerk. And trust me, the word jerk could be replaced with just about any curse word you can think of. Like, good lord, this lady sucks. And what's even worse is that your husband and the rest of his family is basically saying, "Oh yeah, my mother-in-law's innocent. She wasn't trying to be mean by calling you a fat, disgusting whale. She was trying to help you. Now hand the kids over so my parents can watch them." Like, bro, what are we doing right now? This is not the answer. And this is not a way of convincing anyone to do anything. So no, I don't blame you for being like, everybody get away from me. I don't want anything to do with any of you. Because seriously, if you're gonna make comments like that are insulting and like really questioning things about someone's body, then you need to be prepared to have them fire back and be like, "No, you cannot be around my kids." Because I think if I was in that situation, I would probably have a similar reaction. My mom has constantly and consistently left me out of multiple family trips. So I got some petty revenge by going on my mom's dream vacation to Scotland. Here's what happened. Okay, so my mom is constantly taking trips with my sister sister, her husband, and their kids. And I'm always the one they ask to watch their animals and the house while they're gone. I have always felt left out of family vacations, and that my mom prefers my sister over me. Well, I recently saved up enough money to take a trip of my own. My mom has always wanted to go to Scotland. It's like a life dream for her. So I decided that I was going to take my own vacation to Scotland. And for my companion, I chose my aunt, who is my mom's least favorite sister and the only family member that supports me. My mom is constantly arguing with my aunt, probably because she's always been jealous of her lifestyle. And for reference, my aunt is very wealthy. Now, of course, my mom begged me to take her instead, but I absolutely refused her, stating that my reasons being were that I was never included and you're always just using me as a sitter. The real cherry on top of this is that I made sure to send her updates of everywhere I went, and I sent all of my pictures to her daily, which I'm sure she didn't like very much, but honestly, I don't really care. Okay, I love this kind of revenge because, dude, she literally is leaving you out on purpose. And I don't know about you, but that would also really annoy me. Like, seriously, I just want to be involved in family trips, dude. Like, why do you gotta, always keep me out of it? I'm not just a sitter, I'm a member of the family. So the fact that you went to Scotland, of all places, the one place that your mom's like, oh my gosh, I want to go there so bad. That is really funny in my opinion, and I think this is the perfect revenge. My boyfriend basically lives at my place full time, but doesn't contribute anything. And at this point, I don't know how to address it, and I really just don't know what to do. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so I'm a 25-year-old female, I own my own home, and I have a mortgage. And I've been seeing my boyfriend for just under 5 months. When we first met, he was living with a girl he met on Hinge and had previously been sleeping with, which made me really uncomfortable, so he eventually moved out. He still technically pays a bit of rent there, but he's basically never there anymore. For the past 8 weeks, he's been staying at my place pretty much every night. He keeps clothes here, he uses the utilities, he eats here, and is even here when I'm at work. It's gotten to the point where it feels like he lives here. Now, I didn't bring up money at the start because I didn't want things to feel transactional so early on. But over time, it started to feel a bit off that he never offered to contribute anything. We take turns paying when we go out, but that's about it. When I finally mentioned it, it got a bit awkward. His response that since he's still paying rent elsewhere, he could have split the groceries. He also said that if the roles were reversed, he wouldn't expect me to contribute at all. He's made a few jokes about paying something eventually, but never anything serious. I'm currently at university and honestly feeling the pressure of mortgage and bills. Plus, I've even considered getting a housemate to help out. It's honestly becoming way too much. So that's probably why it's bothering me more. It feels a bit weird that he knows I'm not exactly rolling in money, but is still basically living here without contributing anything. Now, I'm not trying to make money off him. I just thought that he'd naturally step up a bit more, even if it was just covering more dates or something like that. I did suggest that since he's still paying rent elsewhere, maybe he could help out in other ways, like doing stuff around the house or something like that, but it still feels a bit unbalanced. So seriously, am I being unreasonable here? Am I out of line for expecting this? Because I really just don't know what to do. Oh no, you're dating a homeless guy. That's what's going on here. Holy crap, he went from one lady's house to another. You basically replaced the lady that he was already with. And I'm sure she was probably like, oh, thank God he finally moved out. Because here's what probably happened. He probably hooked up with this lady. They stayed together for, I don't know, maybe 5 months. And then they broke up and he's like, well, I pay rent here, so I'm not leaving. And then he found you on Hinge, and guess what? The entire process is now repeating. So in my opinion, either this guy can start stepping up and paying for stuff and being I don't know, a participant in your life, or else in my opinion, that's a giant red flag and it's time to move on. Because I gotta be honest with you, this guy doesn't sound like a winner, and it's honestly not someone that I would ever want to spend time with. My boyfriend is constantly consulting Grok for literally everything, and I'm now starting to feel like I'm in a 3-way relationship that includes a chatbot, and at this point I just don't know what else to do. Here's basically how we got here. My boyfriend and I have been together for about a year and things are great. He treats me how I've always dreamed of being treated, but there's a reoccurring theme here that is slowly starting to get on my nerves. Basically, he uses Grok for everything, and I mean everything. Not just when looking up random facts, but actual day-to-day life stuff. We'll be in the middle of a normal conversation and suddenly it's like, hold on, let me ask Grok real quick, as if we've hit a legally binding pause button on human interaction until the AI bot weighs in. I told him it concerns me, but he said he's reading into the risks and all this other stuff, and to not worry about it because he only uses it for small things that take up his time so he can focus on bigger things. We could be deciding what to eat or planning out a workout, and I'm explaining my thoughts, and instead of reacting like a normal person, he's consulting Grok like it's the Supreme Court of dinner decisions. decisions. At this point, I feel like I should just start saying, well, what does Grok think? Instead of having opinions at all. Now, I'm not anti-AI, I get it. I'm literally here just asking the internet for advice. But it started to feel like Grok is a constant third participant in conversations that don't really need a moderator. I don't think he's doing this to be dismissive or anything, but it just interrupts the flow of conversation, and it makes everything feel slightly less human. Like we're one step away from needing Grok to approve eye contact. So how do I bring this up without sounding like I'm jealous of a chatbot or trying to take away his favorite toy? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, I gotta be honest, this is really bizarre behavior. Seriously, this guy's stopping at every chance to be like, okay, let me check Grok real quick. And yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I get it as well. I think AI is kind of here to stay, but when you use it like this, where literally every decision is dictated by the computer instead of what you want to do, then good lord, that would be so annoying. I would be so frustrated dealing with that on a daily basis. So no, you're not overreacting by being upset about this. Like, it really would feel like Grok is like a third member of your relationship. So I think talking to your boyfriend honestly and being like, please put the phone down. I just want to know where you want to go to dinner. We've got fast food joint or like fast food joint disguised as a sit down restaurant. Like, just pick one. It's fine. Because yeah, I would be really annoyed if Grok was interrupting my entire relationship, and it would really start to piss me off. My girlfriend has this weird habit of wanting to talk to me the second I wake up, regardless of the circumstances. And after dealing with this for so long, I feel like I'm losing my mind, and I don't know how to address this, as it's really affecting my sleep schedule and pretty much every aspect of my life. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I feel crazy for even making this post, but I'm trying to see if I'm being unfair here. My girlfriend and I have been together for a few months, and trust me, I'm crazy about her and she's crazy about me. But I've been having an issue with how our mornings and basically any time I wake up is going. We sleep together a lot, whether that's laying in bed while one naps or sleeping overnight together. Now, I've been noticing pretty much every single time I wake up, even if she's still half asleep herself, she wants to have a full enthusiastic conversation while I'm still booting up. This bothered me the most recently because I came down with a really bad upper respiratory infection, and I ended up getting bronchitis and laryngitis, and I basically lost my voice completely. I quite literally was unable to speak. But she would still get so excited and start asking me questions and trying to have a full conversation, literally the second my eyes opened. Like I haven't even gotten a glass of water yet or properly booted up to understand that I'm not sleeping anymore. This is also every single time I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or to get water or literally anything. I was coughing so hard once that I woke myself up briefly, and she woke up out of a dead sleep and tried to have a chat. Now, I absolutely love that she wants to spend so much time with me, and I love talking to her. She is my person, but I'm feeling a bit at a crossroads on how to even approach this, or if I'm just overreacting here. I've gotten better about just straight up telling her that I don't feel like talking right now, but it continues to happen. So is this an overreaction on my part? Like, is it really weird for me to be upset that she wants to talk to me the moment I wake up? Because right now I don't know what to do and I'm kind of frustrated. Okay, I gotta be honest, I am not a morning person. I'm one of those people that when I wake up, dude, give me like 30 minutes to feel like a human being again. Like, I love my sleep. I love being able to sleep in and like getting a lot of rest. Like, it's just my favorite thing. So I really think this would probably make me go crazy. Like, I just don't think I would ever want to deal with this. Even if I did love this girl and I was like, man, I'm crazy about her. She's my person and all this other stuff. Like, unless we came to some kind of compromise and this became a consistent thing, I would be like, bro, you've got to stop talking to me. Please, please let me just wake up. Let me just be a human and then we can talk as much as you want. So in that regard, I completely understand where the original poster's coming from. Like, I used to have people like that at work when I worked early mornings at different office settings where it's like, oh yeah, they're really happy to be there. They're chipper, they're bright, and they've had their coffee in the morning and they're like, okay, let's do this. And it's like, dude, I don't know how you do it. I literally have no idea how you're awake and functioning right now because I'm not. Like, I'm usually good by like 9 o'clock or something like that, but those first 2 hours at work, I'm just like, please stop talking to me. I don't want to talk to anybody. Please leave me alone. So yeah, if I was in your shoes, I would just be straight up with her. I would talk to her and be like, hey, this is not working. I really don't want to talk in the morning, especially right when I just woke up. It's frustrating and it makes me hate you, or something like that. Don't tell her that you hate her. Obviously, that's just a joke, but like saying something would be better than saying nothing. My online male best friend has been treating me like garbage for years, as he's been hyper possessive of me in our friend groups, and even gone as far as to chase off guys I might be interested in. But after I started to see the truth about this guy, I decided that enough was enough, where I finally decided to cut this guy out of my life once and for all. And honestly, I didn't realize it would be this hard, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, where your best friend can very quickly become your stalker pretty much overnight. Because the female original poster in this story has a guy in their life who went from being a good friend to straight up being this toxic, like overwhelming person pretty much over the course of just a few years. So seriously, strap in for this one. This gets really weird pretty quickly. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Am I the Jerk and click the bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started. Okay, so I've been best friends with someone who I will call Steve for just a little over 5 years. For reference, I'm a 29-year-old female and he's 27 years old. We live a few states apart and we met through online video games. Now at first, Steve really did seem fine. He was one of the only guys I ran into online who didn't immediately try to make suggestive comments about me. He was supportive, he built me up, and honestly helped me feel a lot better after a friendship ended on my side. Early on, he was very encouraging and also opened up a lot about his own stuff, including a breakup with his long-term girlfriend that he said he didn't understand, which in hindsight is obviously a red flag. Over time though, things started shifting. We started arguing a lot and he began putting a lot of demands on me, which made me really uncomfortable. So I ended the friendship the first time because of that. After a while, I missed the good parts, and we ended up reconnecting a few times. During all of this, I was also kind of going through a personal reset. I was aging out of my early 20s, I was growing up, and I was developing way more functional empathy. So overall, I was a way more stable person than before. When I gave the friendship another real chance, I had a very direct conversation with him. I basically said to him, if we're gonna be friends, he needs to respect my boundaries and not treat me badly. He then apologized and said that he had reflected a lot and that he wanted to change, but that I needed to be patient because he was still working on himself, which in hindsight is yeah, I should have immediately ran, but I didn't. Now, at first, things actually improved. It felt like he was using therapy language, he was communicating better, and all of that. But every so often, he would still randomly lash out. I kept my boundaries pretty firm at first and would call things out directly, but over time, they slowly started slipping. And there was a point where I did realize what was happening. I just didn't really want to deal with it because I was genuinely lonely. He was also very generous throughout the friendship. I never asked for it, but if I mentioned liking something, he would just go and buy it for me. He also paid for trips like conventions and visits. It wasn't like this one-sided thing though. I contributed when I could and bought him things as well. He just made more money, so he had more flexibility. Now, at his suggestion, we started planning a trip to Hawaii together. I had never been and was actually really excited about it, and I tried to make it clear that I didn't want him overspending on me, but he was already in that habit and still just went all out. I didn't want to be rude or make it weird, so I just accepted it and I tried to cover my share where I could. We also joined another online group together and ended up in a guild where we started making friends. Some old acquaintances from previous games joined in too, and at this point I had grown a lot socially and I was actually building real friendships in the group. I usually stayed more low-key, but overall it was a pretty normal and friendly group. And I mean surprisingly normal, especially for gamers. But every time I got even a little bit close to anybody, Steve would get mad at me. Sometimes he would just straight up push people out of the group, especially if they were guys. It got to a point where I had to explicitly say that we are not in a relationship and never would be. He said he understood, but his behavior still kept getting more boyfriend coded, and other people started noticing too. I would downplay it oh, we're just long-term friends, and people would just go, yeah, okay. Well, after about a year, I start getting romantically close to one of the guild members, and the difference was insane. Being around him felt like breathing after being stuck in a car full of exhaust for years. And that's when I really started noticing how tense I was around Steve, who was, supposed to be my best friend. Not because this other guy did anything specific, but because I realized I wasn't anxious around him at all. I wasn't constantly monitoring what I said. He was calm and kind, and it made me realize how often Steve would make backhanded comments, how much he would insult me and raise his voice when I disagreed with him, and then completely flip things around when I tried to explain that I felt hurt, almost as if I was the problem for even bringing it up. I had genuinely built this idea that I was just a difficult person that people tolerated, and then suddenly I realized that wasn't actually true. I'm just pretty gentle and honestly way too accommodating. And yeah, at that point, I started dreading talking to Steve. I'm not gonna act like I was perfect though, I really wasn't, but most of the time I didn't initiate conflict. I would get pushed to a point where I would just snap, and when I did, I could be really mean. I would bring up insecurities, mirror his behavior, mock him to prove a point, or or completely ignore him when he wouldn't stop, sometimes even baiting him back. I definitely have toxic coping patterns that I could still fall into when I feel cornered. Eventually, it turned into this exhausting loop where he kept saying I didn't care about him and how I wasn't spending enough time with him, but I was literally hanging out with him almost every day for like almost 6 hours. When I started taking about 3 days a week for myself, he actually got mad at me. And if I spent that time with anyone else, it was even worse. I told him I did care about him, but I really needed space, and I couldn't keep doing the constant arguments because it was draining me. He then basically twisted that into, oh, so you don't want this friendship anymore, and then started going off about how much he hated how I was changing, which is also known as me starting to have self-esteem and some kind of boundaries. And also, at this point, I really felt stuck. He had already paid for this Hawaii trip that we were supposed to take in like early summer, and at this point, it was still mid-November. But eventually, I hit a point where I simply couldn't take it anymore. I told him we clearly wanted different things, and I didn't think that we could be friends anymore. I apologized, and I told him that he should try to get a refund for the trip. I didn't ask for anything back that I contributed, but instead I just cut my losses. Well, when I did this, he begged me to reconsider. He used therapy language, he said he would change, and did the whole cycle I had already seen before. So I blocked him on Instagram and Twitter and stopped responding in-game. I do feel bad that he spent thousands on the trip, but I just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't feel safe when he yelled at me, and I couldn't keep living in that constant argument loop. So I really need to know, am I the jerk at all in this situation? Because I really just don't know what to do. Okay, dude, this friendship should have ended a long time ago because Steve is creepy. This guy clearly has a crush on you, or at least wishes that you would be his girlfriend. But instead, he's stuck in the friend zone and he's clearly getting hostile about it. Like, just look at the way he treated other guys in your friend group. He either pushed them out or he became like this rabid animal, just chasing anybody away who got close to you. She can only be friends with me. I'm a real best friend. Like, you should not have needed to explain to anybody that you guys are not dating. Like, Steve's behavior is absolutely over the line and not okay. So truly, I think it's a good idea to get rid of people like Steve in your life because he is just gonna tear you apart. Steve's gonna ruin any chance you have at holding on to that self-confidence and at least moving on with your life, because the way he's currently acting is really creepy in my opinion, and this is like borderline stalker behavior, and you definitely don't deserve that in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. Am I the jerk for not leaving work to help my wife after she ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere? Because despite the fact that I gave her so many other options besides me showing up in person, she still decided to try and blame this on me, saying that I'm unreliable and that she can't count on me anymore. And now I'm kind of wondering if I messed up because I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my wife and I have been married for 11 years and we have 2 kids. I work full-time and she works part-time while also doing online classes to finish her degree. She dropped out of college after 2 years and still wants to finish. She has ADHD and anxiety, and if I'm being completely honest here, sometimes it feels like our entire lives revolve around her symptoms. Now, last Friday, my wife didn't have work and decided to go visit her sister who lives in a small town about 45 minutes away. She didn't tell me she was going, so I was very surprised when she called me shortly after noon. She was obviously upset when I answered, and between the sobs, I was able to make out that there was an issue with the car. Eventually, she calmed down and told me that she ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere and she didn't know what to do. Now, because she hadn't told me she was visiting her sister, I was very confused and I had a lot of questions, which only made her more upset. I was also getting frustrated too, since I finally just asked her, okay, what do you want me to do? She then told me she needed me to come help her out right now, but I told her I was at work and I had meetings in the afternoon that I literally couldn't skip. I then suggested that she call her sister, but she went to work after my wife visited and my wife didn't want to bother her. I suggested she call AAA to come and help her out, but she said she didn't know how to do that. I then suggested that she call an Uber, but she was in the middle of nowhere and didn't show any cars available. I then suggested she call a friend or someone else that might be able to help, and it's here that she yelled out to me and said, just come over here and help me. Now, I tried to remain calm and reiterate that I'm sorry she's in this position, but at this very moment, I'm unable to help her out. I then told her I had offered numerous suggestions that she could try to help herself, but I just can't leave work. Well, she then just hung up on me. My first meeting meeting of the afternoon was starting in 5 minutes, so I tried calling her back and she just didn't answer the phone. I kept trying to text her during my meeting too, but she never responded. I tried calling again between my meeting and still I got no answer, which I will admit really pissed me off because even if I was trying to come help at that point, I simply couldn't reach her. Now, for reference, she is the one who picks up our kids from school, so I was kind of freaking out at this point because I was completely in the dark about whether I would need to get them or if my wife was okay. So I called the school and I asked them to please let me know if my wife comes to get the kids because I literally cannot reach her, but I made sure not to include any details why. Well, the school eventually called me back at pickup time and told me that my wife was there for pickup. When I got home at the end of the day, my wife refused to talk to me. She gave me the cold shoulder the entire weekend. I apologized for not being able to help multiple times, but finally this morning she spoke to me, but all she said was, "I can't count on you anymore." So seriously, did I really mess up that bad? Like, am I really the jerk in this situation? Because I don't know what to make of this and I don't know what to do. Okay, dude, I think the way your wife is acting is completely out of pocket, dude. There's no excuse for this. Seriously, you're just screaming at your husband and being like, "You need to come and pick me up right now. You and only you can save me. You need to figure this out." And it's like, dude, I know you're struggling and I know you're really stressed out, but for starters, why did you really not have enough gas to get where you needed to go? And also, why can't you just call someone else who's closer? Like, your husband's at work. He can't just drop what he's doing and like go and run after you, which by the way, you still haven't told him where you are. There are so many other things she could have done to like, I don't know, save her situation. But instead she wants to complain to you and be like, "Oh, you're unreliable." Like, no, dude, she literally can't help herself and that's no one's problem except for hers. So no, you're not the jerk. You literally offered every suggestion under the sun besides you showing up in person. And clearly at the end of the day, she was able to figure it out without you being involved. So it's weird to me that she wants to give you like this cold shoulder treatment because I don't think you deserve this in the slightest. My entitled neighbor wanted me to watch her dogs over the long weekend for free, and then suddenly got weirdly offended when I told her no because I literally had plans. And I gotta be completely honest, she is one of the most annoying people I've ever had to deal with. Here's what happened. Okay, so my neighbor, who I will call Karen for the sake of the story, knocked on my door last Saturday morning and asked if I could watch her 2 dogs for the upcoming long weekend. Basically, she wanted me to watch them for 3 days. Her dogs are fine, I guess. It's a lab and some kind of terrier mix, but they're a lot of energy, and one of them chewed through my friend's phone charger the last time I helped her out. I said, "I'm sorry, but I have plans this weekend, and also I'm not really set up for dogs at my place right now." I said this totally polite, and it honestly was not that big of a deal. Well, she then kind of pauses and goes, "Well, it wouldn't be that much work. They mostly just sleep." And I said, "Yeah, I get that, but I still can't do it this weekend." Then she hits me with, "Oh, well, I just figured since you work from home, you would have the time." And it's like, yeah, okay. Working from home doesn't mean I'm available to run a free boarding service for your pets. Then she says, and this is the part that really got me, "Oh, I thought we were friends. I would do it for you." Which, okay, we are neighborly, but we've had maybe like 4 real conversations in 2 years. Like, I don't even know her last name. But I just ended up repeating that I can't help this time, and she laughed, but she seemed genuinely annoyed. In fact, recently she walked past me in the parking lot yesterday and barely even nodded. I looked up local dog boarding afterwards, and it's like maybe $60 a night, which honestly seems totally reasonable for someone to care for your animals. But I guess the correct price is actually $0, because she would rather me do it for free out of some weird obligation that I definitely never signed up for. Okay, I hate neighbors like this who pull the whole like, "Oh, we're like friends. I would do it for you." Because holy crap, no she wouldn't. She wouldn't do that for a second. She would leave you high and dry and not think twice about it. And the fact that she's trying to guilt trip you and be like, "Oh, come on, we're pals." That's so weird in my opinion, and honestly it shows her entitlement. Am I the jerk for taking a shower at around midnight when I know that I might be bothering the neighbors who say they're hearing everything I'm doing? But right now, I'm not sure if I want to change my routine because this just doesn't seem quite fair for me. And at this point, I'm not sure what to do. Okay, so we purchased a home and moved in recently, and I gotta be honest, housing opportunities are tight in our area. So even though we were warned that the walls are very thin and the neighbors hear a lot of noise from the apartment, especially from the bathroom, we still chose this property because everything else is picture perfect for us. Now, we are in general a very quiet couple without kids or any animals, and our hobbies are generally really quiet. And we only really invite friends over maybe like once a month. And yes, we are the owners of the apartment. Now, the neighbors are a couple and they have a small kid. They rent the apartment next to us, and before we purchased the home, they warned us that they generally hear a lot of noise coming from our bathroom and that it's their bedroom on the other side. But as I mentioned, our options were limited, and given that we're not noisy at all, we really thought we can take this situation. We sometimes sometimes hear their toddler, but that's completely okay, like it doesn't bother us at all. The real problem is that we bother them, as our routine is very different. They wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and generally quiet down at like 8 o'clock, when the kid goes to sleep. On the other hand, because I work from home until 7 o'clock at night, I generally start my evening at around 8 o'clock and only end up showering at around midnight, which apparently really bothers them. The whole building is quiet, so they tend to hear how I put my stuff down, how the water's running, how I sometimes drop a few things, and they mention it very nicely a few times, but I can see that they are pretty annoyed by this. Now, I'm really torn between switching up my whole nighttime routine to shower first, which just doesn't sit right with me. Like, I like to go to bed freshly showered, and I would do this because they ask nicely, and they do wake up at around 5 o'clock in the morning, so it must be really annoying to get woken up at midnight. On the other hand, they only rent while we own the home, and I think we're generally really good and quiet neighbors apart from the fact that I shower late. They even invited us over to listen to the volume, and if I'm being completely honest, it's not that loud. Sure, you can hear something and it must feel louder in the silence of the night, but it's not incredibly loud. So am I really the jerk for showering at night? Because right now I'm not sure that I'm going to change my routine and I just don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, I think the original poster is absolutely a jerk. First off, just because they're renting the apartment doesn't mean they somehow don't have like the same expectations of like quiet hours like you do. So for you to like completely disregard them being like, hey, the shower's loud, don't do it at midnight, and try to justify it by being like, oh, well, they only rent, that is super toxic and really weird. Like, dude, just take a shower before midnight. In fact, most quiet hours are like, hey, don't make any noise after 10 o'clock or something like that. So for you to be saying, oh, I'm going to take a shower at midnight anyways, even though it's going to make a lot of noise for them and it's going to really keep them up. Like, bro, you're the problem here. This is so unfair for them. They're trying to be respectful, but it really doesn't seem like you care. And that, in my opinion, proves that you are definitely the jerk here. Today, I messed up by basically tanking my job interview by implying that I would be mentally checked out on Friday at 3:30 for my job interview. Because now I'm reflecting on it and I am just absolutely so embarrassed because I'm convinced I screwed this job up and I now just really don't know what to do. Here's how it happened. Okay, for a bit of background on this mess up, which by the way is 100% my fault, I had an interview a few weeks ago with a different company. That interview was on a Friday afternoon and I could see the interviewer was exhausted. He was nice, but I could tell he just wanted to get the interview over with and go home. Now, I didn't get that job, and having gone over the interview with the recruiter, we realized his mind had probably already gone home for the day. And to be fair, I've also conducted interviews on Friday afternoons, and I know that it's a lot harder for me to remember things, engage with a candidate, or even focus on what the candidate was saying. So, lesson learned. Don't do interviews on a Friday afternoon as either the employer or the employee. I get a screening call today from Human Resources for a different job, and it goes okay, but it is the end of the day, and I'm feeling quite tired. The Human Resources person then asked if I can do an interview this Friday, and without thinking, I say, okay, that's fine. They then ask for the morning or the afternoon, and I say afternoon, because I've got meetings in the morning, and I thought that maybe it would be like at around lunchtime. The Human Resources person then asks, okay, well, how about 3:30 in the afternoon? I then say to them, no. And yeah, I drag the word no out just like that. I continue by going, I don't think that's a good time. I don't know about the hiring manager, but I'm mentally checked out on Friday afternoons. And I said it just like that. I tried to walk it back and kind of explain the situation like I said above, but between being tired and completely mortified by what I had actually just said, it felt like I was adding gasoline to the nuclear explosion. Now, to her credit, she took it in stride, but I could definitely hear it in her voice where she was basically saying, did he really just say that? But you know what? She still sent me the invite to the interview. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I just toasted my chances. Again, this is no one else's fault except for my own, and I know this will be a funny story to tell the guys at drinks, but right now I can't stop hitting my head against the table about this because I'm sure I just ruined a job opportunity that I really wanted to get. Yeah, that's one of those situations where you put your foot in your mouth before you could tell yourself to stop doing that. Don't do that, stupid. Don't do it. I've also had those kind of moments where you're in an interview and you're like, man, I really need this job. Please don't screw it up. And then you say something that contradicts what you said earlier and you're like, oh man, there it goes. The whole interview's gone. So don't beat yourself up too much. I mean, these things happen, but hopefully you do get the job and somehow this is salvageable. Because truly, Friday afternoons during the work week really do suck. And I don't think I know of anybody who actively enjoys that time frame. Am I the jerk for taking money from my boyfriend without asking, even though I was trying to pay him back almost immediately when I had the cash? Because right now he is livid with me, and I really just don't know what to do to fix this. Here's what happened. Okay, so when I was doing laundry, I noticed my boyfriend had left $10 in his pants. I took them out and I put them on the table with the rest of the cash. And for reference, we have a jar where we usually keep coins or cash because my boyfriend doesn't carry a wallet, so he just kind of leaves it there. Now, he went out to another place, so I invited my younger sister over for a sleepover, and I decided to go to the store with her and treat her to something nice. So I took those 10 euros, and honestly, usually I just ask my boyfriend if I can take the money, and he never refuses. I know it was stupid, but it was just $10, and I would literally return them the next day when I have cash, so I didn't say anything to him. Well, the next day he wanted that 10 and asked me where it was, and I said what I used it for, and instead just offered him 20 from my wallet. And when I did this, he got really angry. He said I'm a thief and that he can't trust me, and he can't leave me in the apartment alone because what if I steal something else? He told me to go to my parents for a while and said he doesn't want to see me. And honestly, I was in shock and I just sat there silently thinking about the situation. I understand that I did something wrong by not telling him, but on the other hand, it's not that serious. And I was going to return his money, and I literally did. But he then got even more pissed off because I was sitting quietly, saying it annoys him when I sit there like I'm offended, as if he's the one at fault. But I said I wasn't offended. But he interrupted me and started asking what I spent the money on. And at this point, I hesitated because I felt embarrassed that I spent it, not even on groceries for our home, but on my sister. And it definitely would have been better to just use my credit card for those small purchases. But what's done is done. And now because I took too long to answer, he thinks I'm lying and that I spent the money on something else. But it's like, dude, what kind of terrible thing could I have possibly spent $10 on? I understand that it's not about the amount, but about the fact that I didn't say anything, but it really feels like he's overreacting. So am I really in the wrong here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, dude, you are not the jerk at all. This is definitely an overreaction. Your boyfriend's being melodramatic for literally no reason, and he's trying to spin this into a situation where it's like, oh, I can't trust you anymore. But like, bro, it's not that serious. Yes, you can still trust me because, dude, I'm trying to pay you back. Like, what a weird conclusion to jump to. Like, this guy is completely out of his mind. So no, you're not the jerk. You're literally trying to do the right thing, but it seems like he's really denying you that chance. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to Am I the Jerk today. Also, check out Am I the Genius, link down below in the description. We love those guys, and we're sure you're gonna love them too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.